What is happening out there, Roto Scouts baseball fans? How you guys doing? Welcome back. Missed you. We're on time. We're prepared. We're back. Here to talk about a 6-game DraftKings slate, 8-game FanDuel slate that starts a little bit earlier in the afternoon. It's part of why we're here early. I also just got an early jump on my day, had everything lined up, and was just kind of sitting here, so I figured, what the hell? Let's put the show up early, see if we get a few more clicks, a few more views. Calvin's here. Hope everyone afternoon is going well. Same here. Back at you, buddy. Stephen B. Looking good in there. Whole bunch of emojis essentially saying hello. Kenny Woodhouse, good to see you, man. Handful of other people out there. Welcome, welcome. Hopefully your weekends went well. Couple missed days at the end of the week last week. Just was feeling under the weather between the allergies and just woke up. It didn't really sleep. Then got to sleep around 5 a.m. and woke up just feeling lousy on Wednesday. So punted the Wednesday show. Had that early start on Thursday for the 1 o'clock games or the noon games on FanDuel. And then the Monster Friday slate, unfortunately, I was away at my parents' house for. Had projections up for everything. All the content on the website was up. But missed a couple shows there. Missed you guys. Hopefully you did well on those days. Had some hits. Had a couple misses as well, as usual. It's baseball. Weekend was pretty good. I was down at my parents' house and then swung down to my sister's house to finally celebrate my niece's birthday with the family. She had done like a thing with her friends, and then my parents were away, so it was a whole thing. So we celebrated her birthday, my sister's birthday, and Father's Day all at the house, which was at my sister's house, which was nice. Hung out there for the afternoon, got to spoil my niece with a bunch of presents, got in a big water gun fight because I got her super soakers. I was laughing because we're running around the backyard spraying each other with super soakers, and they've got like a lagoon right there, like a canal. I call it a canal. They call it a lagoon. Semantics. But I got her these super soakers that like all you got to do is dunk it in the water and it immediately fills up, and then you can go back to action. So we were running around blasting each other with those things. And my sister's yelling down at me from the deck, like, this is what you get. It serves you right. Like, you put yourself in this situation. I'm like, this is exactly what I wanted. Why would I have bought the kid super soakers on a hot day if I wasn't looking to get in a water gun fight? It was a blast. A good time with the fam. Saw F1 with mom and dad on Friday. Really good flick. I was impressed. I was not prepared. I was not ready to enjoy it quite as much as I did. I thought I would like it, but it would be kind of middle of the road sports movie. I'm not a huge racing guy, but I liked it more than that. It was really good. Pitt was good. It was really cool to see a little glimpse of, like, you know, obviously a fictionalization, but like what the behind the scenes must be like, where these guys are saying, all right, can we gain a half a second if he goes, you know, through the, if this guy pits and we don't, can we gain a half a second if we beat him to that point and we need to decide in a half a second? Really cool stuff with all like the computerization, the teamwork behind the scenes. A little exposure to that gets me a little bit more interested, and I assume the general public a little bit more interested in like F1. Obviously, it's a huge, huge sport internationally, still growing here. That Vegas race is huge, though. Movie did gangbusters business, too. $144 million opening at the box office. Rescuing the summer at the box office. Anyway, we're here to talk baseball. Before we dive into that, I did make you guys a promise last week that we would kick off July with a promo, and I'm going to do it a day early. So starting today, if you go to rotoscouts.com, and at rotoscouts.com, typically for under $1 a day, you gain access to anything that hits that website. Right now, it's baseball content only. I'm going to get back to some articles for season long as far as waiver pickups for the second half, since we've got more time now. Just got overwhelmed down the stretch and haven't been able to get on top of that. I also don't want to give away my hand a lot of weeks because my pickups are on Saturday nights. But I'll get back to publishing those. I'm also going to find some ways to put other content. We've got a bunch of guys doing WNBA projections in our Discord. The Discord is free. Those projections currently are entirely free. That's just those guys doing it. I might look to get those published on the website. I got to find out if they're actually any good. Maybe I'll do them myself, but we'll see. And I was thinking about seeing if I could knock out PGA projections at some point. We've got the All-Star break coming up in 2 weeks for MLB. So I figured this was a good month to run a promo. try and account for that couple of days off that we'll have that week. We will be, of course, projecting the All-Star game, but I'll also see if I can land PGA that week. I'm sure I can figure out how to do it. It's just, as I've said before, I don't love projecting things and selling things that I don't typically play myself, but as long as I can get projections dialed in and get a good handle on it, I can put it up there as a value add for the rest of the summer. Anyway, all of that is to say, if you go to rotoscouts.com and you use promo code SARCASTIC with a K, you get 50% off your first week or month, or excuse me, 50% off of a week or month over at Rotoscouts. This ends on 7/4, where it goes through 7/4. I need to check out whether I set it to end on 7/4 or go through it. But promo code SARCASTIC with a K, all lowercase, 50% off of a week or a month. So if you're a current subscriber, you want to kill that one, start a new one, go ahead. I don't love encouraging people to cancel subscriptions, but it will work for you. So take the discount. I encourage you to actually do that. But we're putting that on the board for everybody. So hopefully get a little bit more value. Trying to put my value where your money is, or something like that. Interesting slate to talk through today. We've got a lot of good pitching and a lot of value pitching on the board. We've got a very big top end. Garrett Crochet, Zach Wheeler. Garrett Crochet going against Chase Burns as well. Monster duel there. Got Carlos Rodon in a decent spot. Logan Webb, George Kirby against KC for a very fair price. There's a lot to work with. And then I like some of these options down here. Jacob Lopez has been decent in some starts. Ryan Nelson's always at least fairly reliable. Trevor Rogers has shown some upside in a couple spot starts. So there's options to work with. There were a few spots that jumped out to me for offense when I was hand building. As usual, I like to dabble, just putting lineups together while I'm putting them in my placeholders. And I landed on one that seems like it's probably coming up pretty obvious. I did it before I put the model together. But a real natural fit with Phillies and Orioles. I like the Orioles going up against Patty Corbin, a pitcher we've always targeted, even though he's been pitching somewhat successfully. He comes in at a cheap price against a up and down Orioles squad. But I landed on their side, but it looks like they're going to be popular. Home run pick of the day comes out of the Orioles. It's a lot to work with the Yankees, and Max Scherzer in a short outing in his second start back. Ryan Nelson, again, very talented medium talented on the mound. Very gettable spot against San Francisco, but that team could easily get to Ryan Nelson too. There are bats to work with from the middle point down here. Some of these top end guys, some of these matchups up here, Logan Webb kind of checking Arizona off the board a little bit. Gets really interesting. Yep. You're going to have to deal with a few different tabs that are zoomed out. I was working on the laptop while I was away at my parents' house for the last few days, so that screen significantly smaller than the one I'm on here. I had to zoom everything out and figure out. It's a pain in the ass. Let's put it that way. Pods Phillies. Monster total comes up for the Phils. They're going up against Matt Waldron. 5.44 implied total on the Philadelphia side, showing plenty of power upside. Very good top to bottom lineup on any given day. Love the Phillies upside. Seems like they'll get some popularity in that spot. That's on the FanDuel slate only. You do have the first two games on a turbo slate over on DK. So if you're playing, that we'll talk at least about the bats. The pitchers I won't have the prices for, but you'll at least hear some context. It's Zach Wheeler on the mound for the Phils. Obviously, tremendous option. Projects out as one of the top pitchers on the board. You have to pay full price for him. He's going up against a lower strikeout Padres lineup with plenty of talent in it, but it's Zach Wheeler. I don't think we need to think about it too much on FanDuel. Eric Fede against Andrew Heaney in the Cards-Pirates game. Mid-fours implied total on both sides of that one. Both of those teams kind of hit in the middle of the board. Cards a little bit better overall as a lineup than the Pirates. Maybe the Pirates have a higher peak if you're talking about O'Neal Cruz and his raw talent. He's been a little bit rocky, though, over the last month and change. Had a pretty big week last week. Hopefully it's because me, Lou, and Mike Brown finally were able to pull off our trade for him. Seems like he enjoys being in the new uniform. That one, I don't think we're looking too much pitching. Maybe you could talk me into some cheapini, but really probably not. Carlos Rodon against Max Scherzer. You can definitely talk me into some affordably priced Carlos Rodon. 395 implied total on the Blue Jays side. They do have competent bats. They are low strikeout. That causes a little bit of a knock for Rodon. He slips slightly as compared to the top part of the board, but he's also discounted as compared to those guys. Yankees coming in at a 464 implied total, one of the higher marks on the board. They're going up against Max Scherzer, who went 5 in his return on the 25th. He had also gone 4 1/3 in both of his minor league rehab starts. So presumably upside to 5 and change, maybe a 6th inning if all goes well for Max, but we're probably looking at 5 more realistically. And the Yanks are showing decent power upside, and they're showing a decent implied total there. So I think Yankees bats hit the board a little bit more. As mentioned, Chase Burns on the mound for the Reds, going up against the Red Sox, and Garrett Crochet on the bump for the Sox. Monster pitching duel. Should be fun. Burns in his first outing went 5, struck out 8 against the Yanks. Gave up 3 earned runs, gave up a home run and 6 hits, but looked every bit the flamethrower and elite strikeout option that he's supposed to be. 335 implied total for the Reds. Garrett Crochet kind of speaks for himself. Talked about my concerns about the depth of start that he's been just putting up start after start, and the Red Sox are just kind of letting him go out there. Went out and pitched another 7 after we talked about it last week. 7 innings, 3 hits against the Angels, 10 strikeouts, 3 walks, no runs. Ridiculous. Just, he's been top-notch all season long. No reason not to go to him. The Rays, a 452 implied total on the Rays side of that one. They're going up against Jacob Lopez, who has been on form over the last four outings. It's 4 starts. One of them was only 4 innings, but he only gave up 1 run. It was unearned on 4 hits, struck out 5, walked 2 against the Orioles. Had a 6-inning, 9 strikeout, 3 hitter with no runs allowed against the Royals at Kansas City. A 9 strikeout, 3 walk, 1 run, 4 hit game over 6 against the Astros. And then went 7, 3 hits, no runs, 6 strikeouts, and a walk against Detroit at Detroit in his last start. So he's been a monster in recent games. Mid-level type talent. That Tampa Bay lineup does have plenty of bats in it, so we can definitely consider some Rays, but wouldn't take Jacob Lopez off the board against a Rays lineup that's got some Ks in it. And then Drew Rasmussen going for Tampa Bay, keeping the Athletics lineup down at just 357 implied runs. But in that ballpark, anything can happen, especially with some of those big lefty thumpers they've got in that lineup. So I wouldn't take the Athletics off the board the same way I'm not taking Jacob Lopez off the board, but they are obviously one of the lower end options, just given that run total. Rasmussen, 5 and change in most of his starts, has given up a couple few runs in 3 of the last 4, pitched clean in his last one, struck out 5, walked 2 hits against Kansas City at KC. Competent, not really all that reliable for anything beyond 5 and change, maybe a completed 6th inning. As mentioned, it's scrolling across the bottom of the screen here, but if you use promo code SARCASTIC with a K, you get 50% off of a week or month over at rotoscouts through the end of this week to start July. Help account for the All-Star break coming up. Going to put some more value on the site as we go through July. See what we can do. Keep them going here. The Orioles, the Rangers. Is Trevor Rogers on the bump for the O's? Was tremendous in his last start. 8 innings, faced 27 hitters, allowed 3 hits against Texas on the 23rd. Struck out 4, walked 0. I'll take it at the cheap prices. If he can replicate that kind of outing, first start of the year on May 24th, he went 6 1/3 against the Red Sox at Fenway, struck out 5, walked 0. Then we targeted him in the middle start. That he had a couple weeks where he wasn't starting at the big league level. Came back up, was made a start against the Rays, went 2 1/3, faced 15 hitters, gave up 3 runs on 5 hits, struck out 4 and walked 3. We were on him that day. I think we'll be similarly on him, but there's obvious upside for the lefty, and he is a talented guy who has put up decent numbers in the show before. Patty Corbin on the mound, again, pitching relatively competently throughout the beginning of the year, but 3 to 4 runs in a handful of the last games, 5 runs in the last outing, home run allowed in each of his last 2, only went 5 innings in 3 straight starts, still a handful of strikeouts in each one. Again, he's been okay this year overall, but I'm looking to target him with some cheap Orioles bats. Unfortunately, it seems like the field's doing the same thing. 4.35 implied total for them. Mid-fours on the Texas side. They've been up and down all season. Giants and the D-backs mentioned liking Ryan Nelson, but again, the Giants lineup is interesting, and especially with that big lefty with Rafi Devers in that lineup now, they get more interesting against mid-range righties. So I can see some upside for them pulling a mid-fours implied total in the desert. And then on the Diamondback side, even against Logan Webb, they are over 4 implied runs. 4.07 implied runs is not nothing for that team. They are a very good lineup, but they're missing one of their stars. Logan Webb has that ridiculous impact on home run upside. He's just tremendous on the mound. One of the better pitchers in the league at going 7 innings, giving you depth, giving you quality. Love Logan Webb, and a challenging spot for rostering Diamondbacks. Rounding things out, the Royals and the Mariners, very low implied total for the Royals, 3.19 implied against George Kirby. Kirby's been a little bit shaky in his return to action. Did manage to go 7, 4 starts back, went 6 the last time out. Just gave up 1 earned run, 3 hits, 3 strikeouts. Just kind of finding his form, but typically when he's on, he's one of the better options for depth as well, and just gives you very, very strong outings. So Kirby's on the board at a fair price. And then the Mariners are facing Michael Wacha in a pitcher's park. There's upside for Wacha. That implied totals at 3.89, so also under 4 runs there. I think we're looking pitching with that low 7-run total in that late game. Obviously, there are bats on both sides of that one that we can definitely talk about and include in our lineups. I really don't think there's much coming off the board or out of lineup builds on this one. Up at the top, again, Garrett Crochet, tremendous. Projects fantastic going up against Cincinnati, a lineup with plenty of strikeout in it. They're talented enough in a hitter's park that anybody can get to anybody, but that has plenty of upside visible for Garrett Crochet. You're just paying full price, 11-2, 10-7. Very challenging pricing. Obviously, the top of the board with a bullet on the DraftKings slate, offset by like 3 points over Carlos Rodon, over Logan Webb. On FanDuel, you've got Wheeler right there at a couple bucks cheaper, but arguably in a worse spot going up against San Diego with their lack of strikeout upside. Wheeler's easily good enough to go find him. He's been fantastic throughout most of the season. Gives you plenty of depth in his average start, but there is a little bit maybe scraped off the surface of that one, just given the quality in the Padres lineup. I mentioned really liking Rodon. You could say similar things about Toronto, though. They are low strikeout. They've had some quality bats. Some guys like Ernie Clement have been downright interesting for the last month and change. Not entirely safe for Carlos Rodon. Not entirely as tall of a building as far as the upside goes. But he's been mostly tremendous all year as well, and well worth the price. You get him at a little bit of a discount on either side. Webb, as mentioned, tremendous. Just that is a very good Arizona lineup, and there is a 4+ implied total. 97 is a generous price for Logan Webb on the DraftKings slate. 82.77, though, for George Kirby against a low strikeout themselves Royals team that is capable of putting some runs up, but comes in at a very low implied total in that pitcher's park in a pitcher-friendly situation. I love the upside for Kirby. As long as he's giving me 6, I'll always at least take the gamble. You've got upside for 7 or more if he is fully healthy and on form. So really love it at the price, especially as an SP2 option on DK. Burns at price, 8,000. Maybe priced up on FanDuel at 88, just given the fact that you're probably not completing 6 innings. Even if things are going well, unless they're going extremely, extremely well, and he's just kind of breezing through efficiently, I don't know that he necessarily books the 6th inning, the quality start for the 88 on FanDuel. Monster strikeout upside, and that Red Sox lineup is now littered with quad A type players and young kids who are potentially going to be stars, but just finding their form. These are the minor leaguers that Chase Burns has been dominating all year. So not a full-fledged major league lineup necessarily for the Red Sox. Seems like a good enough spot. 8,000 on DraftKings, major upside for Burns. Rasmussen easily playable at 87.75, but again, there is a little bit of threat for power, at least from the Oakland side, especially at 87 on FanDuel. Another guy who, 5, maybe 6 for Rasmussen, and then we're calling it a day for the most part. So the Athletics hit 1 3-run home run against that at 87 on this pitching slate. That's probably going to break that spot. 75 on DraftKings, different story. He's just in the mix. He's in the blender as an SP2. There's a lot of guys who project similarly in that range of pricing, all in usable spots. Waka's on that list, 7,200 against Seattle. Plenty of upside again, 7-run total for that game. There are strikeouts available in Seattle's lineup. Nelson at just 67 on DraftKings. The results have been mixed. He's that kind of pitcher. He's a fourth starter. He's a fifth starter. But he does find success from time to time. He always checks in cheap. He gives us just enough. Last time out, 5 innings, 1 earned run, struck out 7, walked 3 against the White Sox. Start before that against the Blue Jays, again, low strikeout team. Struck out 4, walked 2, gave up a home run, but that was the only run and the only hit he gave up over 5 2/3. Start before that, he gave up 6 hits, but only 1 unearned run, 3 strikeouts and a walk against, again, a low strikeout Padres team. He's got talent. Finished last year strong. Hasn't been bad this year. Stretched out for 5+. Maybe you don't crack 6, but he went 6 2/3 on May 26th against the Pirates. 4 strikeouts, no walk, pitched efficiently, 4 hits, no runs. So he does have the opportunity to get into the 7th inning. Very cheap price for the upside against the San Francisco lineup that, again, has a lot of thump in it. Also has some strikeouts. Rogers, 73-63. I mentioned the upside already. Scherzer, I question the depth available and the matchup against the Yanks. Not necessarily great, but for the name brand, 73-65, you can't really question it that much. 9,000, 7,000. Major price discrepancy for Jacob Lopez across sites. Super usable here as an SP2. You can easily go, like Lopez, George Kirby, and go double spend down. It's not crazy to go double spend down like that. Like this, obviously like that too. There are options for just cheap combinations on DraftKings. So I don't know that you definitely want tons and tons of the top guys, and pairing them with these guys helps pay for everything. But going double spend down is very viable against those kind of options as well today. And it gets you big time bats. Easily worth considering. And I would probably dedicate, if you've got time when you're lineup building, I would take some time and maybe dedicate some just runs, some crunches, whatever you call it, to maybe knock these guys out of the box just for that run and just let it build lineups combining these guys. Mostly on DraftKings, just for that value. You can also do that on FanDuel so that you're just playing among the value here. You can also, just easily leave these guys in and just lower the ownership thresholds so that you still get some. Depends on how many lineups you're building out to then select from. But if you're building a big portfolio of lineups, I think that's worth doing today, given how cheap this entire range is while also being playable. 9,000 for Lopez is challenging on FanDuel. I do like that Tampa lineup in that ballpark. Fede is a different story, 77 on FanDuel. You can mix and match your way to a low strikeout game against the Pirates. Maybe they push a little bit of strikeout upside in his direction. There's also plenty of threat there. I mentioned Corbin playable, but I like the Orioles side of that one, 72-6,000. And then we round things out with Waldron and Heaney on the FanDuel slate at the bottom of the board. I don't think you necessarily want to go there. Fair. I'm going to turn that scroll off now. We'll come back to it. I forgot that was running. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as we get started. If you weren't reading that scroll, it said that promo code sarcastic with a K gets you 50% off your first of a week or a month. I'll get this down over at rotoscouts.com. That runs through the end of the week to get us started for July. Gets you access to everything that hits the site for half off of the original under $1 a day price, aka the lowest price point in the industry. Padres, Phillies, FanDuel only, but again, available in a turbo on DraftKings with the next game as well. Phil's pulling a slate high 5.44 implied total against Matt Waldron. Why is Matt Waldron's stats not coming up? Oh, duh. Return. I didn't clock that. Hold on. I accidentally grabbed his last year game log. Come on. Where's the minors? There we go. Probably should have noticed that all said 2024. All right. So Waldron's made 8 outings. The last 5 of which have been at AAA from the end of May through the 20th. Got out to 5 plus in a couple of them. Got tattooed by Arizona's affiliate in the most recent start. 5 earned runs on 7 hits, 2 2/3. Struck out 2. Struck out 5 over 5 2/3. 1 earned run on 3 hits against Texas's affiliate the start before that. So presumably, stretched out and knuckleballer anyway. So that kind of changes that equation as far as the ability to throw for depth because they're just rubber armed typically. So you could see 6 innings here, but you're also very much more likely to see Matt Waldron just get absolutely annihilated by the Phillies. Kyle Schwarber putting up a 14.6 in the home run model. Waldron last year, 146 2/3, 21.3% strikeouts. Was good with the walk, 6.4% walk rate, but had a 4.91 ERA, a 4.30 xFIP, just 8.7% swinging strike rate. Wasn't all that bad as far as the premium contact goes, and that's typical for this kind of pitcher. But a fly ball trajectory against this lineup still gave up a 3.36% home run rate. That Arsenal's never going to play well against stuff. Plus, just an 82.86 mark last year, way below average. But it's obviously just about, the one pitch. But firmly on the Philly side here, don't really see any need for $6,800 Waldron. Zach Wheeler, 11,000, monster upside, 32.9% strikeouts this year over 16 starts, 99 innings, a 2.55 ERA, a 2.63 xFIP, walking just 6.5%. This has been arguably the best season or best half season of Zach Wheeler that we've seen. And he's been ridiculous throughout his career. Monster upside, even against the Pods. This version of the Pods, technically a 23.4% strikeout rate, but we're not counting Trenton Brooks over 13 plate appearances there. So we need to bring that down. But if it's Martin Maldonado at the bottom, you get a little boost from that 36.7. That's a very real number. 18.6% is the true average, though. Still significantly below league average, or better than league average. So they're a difficult team to stack points against. But Wheeler is another kind of starter. He also gives you plenty of depth. Again, 99 innings in 16 outings. 6 innings last time out. 1 earned run on 4 hits. Struck out 8. Walked 3 against the Astros at Houston. 8 strikeouts. 4 hits, no runs against the Mets over just 5. Walked 3 in that one. Threw a lot of pitches. But got through it. 6 innings. Quality starts in the 2 before that against Toronto and the Cubbies. It's Zach Wheeler. We don't need to overthink it. You just go there. Projects out great on that DraftKings slate, the 2-gamer for whatever the price is out of these 4 pitchers. Easily your go-to option on that one. He's probably going to be 100% owned on that one. Not actually, but 80+% on that turbo slate. On the Padres side, a 368 implied total. Assuming we get this configuration of the lineup, at least it's corrected with Luis Arraez in the leadoff spot. They go Manny Machado in the 2, Merrill Tatis. I like that configuration of the lineup a lot better than what they were doing. I don't mind Tatis in the leadoff role. It was more about Luis Arraez in the 2 spot, as we've talked about a lot. Arraez this year, 283, 315, 401, a 102 WRC plus. Kind of stable, but not doing what he's typically doing as far as the BABIP, as far as some of those just light hit balls dropping in. Only hitting 283 and getting on at a 315 clip is not typical. He's usually 300 and quite a bit better on base. So not giving us exactly the run creator, the correlated score that we're used to. 2,600 second base on FanDuel. You can play him if you're going Padres, but that's really the only situation where I'd really be that interested. He's not expensive. You don't really want him at first. Machado for 37 at third base. Obvious upside even against Zach Wheeler. If anybody's going to get him, Manny's on that list. 13 home runs, 8 steals, 293, 355, 479 this year, a 380 xWOBA. It's been tremendous and has more to give. Could get that ISO over 200 easily. 11.8% barrels and 49% hard hit rate. Monster season so far from Machado. Should keep it up through the second half. Jackson Merrill, as long as he's in the lineup, 294, 350, 452, 5 home runs. He's a star whenever he's healthy. Fernando Tatis at 37, 7.35. Again, if you're going against Zach Wheeler, Tatis is obviously in your lineup. 15 home runs, 17 stolen bases. a star, but a little bit of an underperformance at 187 ISO, but a 384 xwOBA. Again, tremendous contact at 11.6% barrels, 49.6% hard hits. Easily should push that ISO well over 200, have a monster second half if all goes to plan. Gavin Sheets just under 10% barrels, but a 51.9% hard hit on the season. Strikes out at just a 20.3% rate, walking 7.7%. Strikeouts are down slightly. The walks are also down slightly, though. 2 years ago was a little bit better in both departments at 19.2 and 8.1. Could have a little bit more to give if he can get those numbers back to that level. But he's having a good year. 300 plate appearances. He's hit 13 home runs, a 202 ISO, a 123 WRC plus, and the underlying 353 xwOBA. Again, we could see even more productivity out of him. Xander Bogaerts has found the power bat a little bit. He's had some doubles, hit a couple home runs in recent games. 5.4% barrels, 38.9% hard hit. Still has a ways to go, but we're climbing at least. Still low strikeout, 16.2%, 10.4% walk. Slashing 251, 327, 362 over 327 plate appearances. Not ideal, but at least stable. 96 WRC plus, just a 111 ISO. The 5 homers is obviously a little below the pace of what we would expect from Xander Bogaerts of years past. On pace for his first year under double-digit home runs. But at least coming on a little bit and easy to reach at 26. Second base is preferable to shortstop, but he can be played at short. Cronenworth mix and match quality, 7 home runs on the season, is getting on at a 351 clip. That's what keeps him alive, a 119 WRC plus because of that, but never really more than a mix and match talent. Trenton Brooks has had a pretty empty 13 plate appearances outside of that home run. Does have a 333 ISO, 25% barrel, and 50% hard hits, but that's over probably 2 batted ball events. Martin Maldonado always on the board for a very cheap home run, but you don't really need catcher on FanDuel. If you're playing that turbo and he's in the lineup on DraftKings, fire away. Yeah, one lineup is in. The cards landed. The far more interesting Phillies. Again, 544 implied total. Looking like a monster. Tech X Sneak. Howdy do, folks. Good to see you, man. Sean 053 starting at the beginning at 2X. See you soon. Yeah, you'll be here soon. We'll probably still be on this game by the time you're caught up. Some of it was me rambling about the promo. Check that out at the beginning of the show. I'll pull it up again. Doug Geely saying, interesting slate today. I can't seem to get away from the Yankees. Yankees always come up. They just project out great. That lineup's ridiculous. I mean, there are just so many competent bats in that lineup that they're always going to project at least fairly well. And there's just tons and tons of power upside. So, yeah, makes sense. Max Video 35, what's going on? Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. Saying awesome job as always. Appreciate you right back. Awesome job getting to the show today. Left-handed bats in Tampa, definitely appealing. Again, it's the same cookie cutter outline of Yankee Stadium, same profile as Yankee Stadium. That is their spring and minor league complex. George M. Steinbrenner Field. It's named that for a reason. And in the Tampa Heat. What's the weather like down there today? There is weather on the board that I should mention in this Phillies game. Roth has it as yellow, and his take is essentially there's a lot of rain in the area. Swing back more a little bit closer to lock. So definitely keep an eye on this Phillies game. But love the upside for their bats. Obviously, Zach Wheeler. We'll get into the man-by-man in a second. But the other threatening weather game, St. Louis and Pittsburgh, similar kind of take. A lot of storms in the area. Check back closer to lock. So we'll keep an eye on that one. And then the A's and the Rays, typical Florida, some storms in the area. He is saying a little bit of an odd pattern. This is, again, Roth over from RG. He's got it yellow-green. He's saying currently not expecting trouble, but will not fully rule it out. So swing back, keep an eye on Tampa as well. But like the upside there, assuming all is well. So Trey Turner, 3,700 monster opportunity on the FanDuel slate. 296, 348, 456. Creator runs 22% better than average. He's hit 11 homers, 20 steals. Basically on-form season from Trey Turner. And could easily be 4,000 on this slate and against this pitcher. Kyle Schwarber checking in with a 14.63 that is among the slate leaders in the home run model as usual. 16.2% barrels, 58.1% hard hits. I don't think I need to sell anybody Kyle Schwarber against this pitcher. 25 home runs, a 285 ISO on the season for Schwarbs. He's just tremendous. It's easy to stack Phillies, though, because everybody after those guys is super, super cheap and at least competent. You've got mediocre numbers for some of these guys as far as WRC plus so far this season, but we've seen more from Bryson Stott. We've seen more, obviously, from JT Realmuto, and he's putting good bat on ball still. We've seen more from Max Kepler in terms of power output. He's got a bad slash line, but he's putting major bat on ball from the left side. So they're very cheap, very capable options through this lineup. And then you've got Alec Bohm and Nicky Castellanos, who are not having bad seasons. They're just kind of mid-range type bats. But there's a lot to work with Philly. Bohm at 279, 320, 390. Just a 96 WRC plus, 7 home runs, 2 steals. The power output hasn't been major, but a 6.9% barrel, a 47.7% hard hit, right in line with where he's been in productive seasons in years past. 17% strikeouts and 5% walks. Strikeouts slightly up, walks slightly down as compared to the last 2 seasons. Little bit of his challenge, but a tremendous option for just batted ball events. And they're quality batted ball events. It's all we're looking to buy here. 2,600 following those 2 hitters. If Schwarbs doesn't come through, he's either striking out, hitting a home run, or walking. So there's tons of on-base opportunity, a 348 and a 385 on base ahead of him. Alec Bohm has opportunities to knock runs in, create fantasy points, whether he's homering or not. Nicky Castellanos, a 9.9% barrel, 7.59 in the home run model. 9 dingers on the board this year, 339 xWOBA, 110 WRC plus, one of the better bats this season in their lineup. 341 pretty good plate appearances. Always capable, 2,900, not bad. Kepler for 27, again, 207, 302, 374 is challenging, just a 167 ISO. 9 home runs and 281 opportunities, not really on form as far as the output goes, but look where the contact is. Last year it was 6.2% barrels, 36.6% hard hits. We're back to big numbers for Kepler. These numbers look a lot like 2023. His low strikeout, high walk this season, 20.6% strikeout in line with the last 2 years, 11% walks, improvement upon the last couple of years. There's a lot to like here for the cheap price. Just needs to find better results in the second half. Realmuto is the same thing, 8.4% barrels, 44.5% hard hits. It's resulted in just 240, 307, 353, just a 112 ISO. Just a 316 xWOBA is kind of on the line. He's striking out a little bit, walks at a medium clip, but I'm here for the cheap bat on ball, and I will play him at 28 on FanDuel. Stott, you get a little bit of on base, a little correlated scoring. Minor power from the left side, doesn't really put great bat on ball, but has some wheels, 12 stolen bases on the season. Just an 83 WRC plus, though, this year. Otto Kemp, a 44% hard hit rate over his 77 plate appearances. Just 1 home run, a 101 ISO, and a 91 WRC plus to show for it, but has been decent at putting cheap bat on ball for 26. I would just rather have Alec Bohm from higher in the lineup for the same price. And then Brandon Marsh is always good for some cheap on base and a wraparound play from the bottom of the Phillies lineup. It's a 9-man lineup, assuming it's a similar configuration to this. Going up against this pitcher, they're going to be popular on that FanDuel slate. Obviously, they'll be popular on the 2-game Turbo DraftKings slate. Oh, and that goes Zach Wheeler, Phillies bats, call it a tie. And then not much from the other side, but Padres bats well over Waldron. Cards at a 4.52 implied total. The Pirates coming in at 4.57. Again, some rain in the area to keep an eye on in this one. This one's way more about bats. We can always target Eric Fede with some bats. He's not a bad pitcher, a 4.11 ERA, but a 5.06 xFIP. He's been not great this year, but he's a competent guy as far as limiting runs. Last year, 3.30 ERA, a 4.12 xFIP. So he can be a competent pitcher over 6-7 innings in any given start. 87 2/3 this year, 16 over 16 starts, gives you reasonable depth, but he's walking too many. He never strikes out many. 15.2% strikeout rate, just a 6.9% swinging, 23.8% CSW so far this year. Last year, those numbers pretty similar, but had more swinging strike, had a slightly better CSW, was keeping guys off base a lot more effectively. Way lower walk, was striking out way more hitters, had just a 116 whip. So he's just a better option throughout last year, was limiting power decently. Still doing that, but he's given up more barrels this season. He's given up more hard hit this season. He's given up a 90-plus mile an hour exit velo on average this season. So getting a little bit lucky probably to be at that 2.41% home runs. A little bit more launch this year. So we're just looking to target Fede with some cheap Pirates bats, I think, on this FanDuel slate. On the other side, Heaney, not really that much more strikeout, over 86 and a third in 16 outings this year, putting up a 4.48 ERA, a 4.52 xFIP. There is more swinging strike for Heaney, a little bit better of a CSW, leading to a 17.6% strikeout rate, walking just 8.3%, giving up similar high levels of premium contact. It's burnt him a little bit more than it's burnt Fede as far as the home run output. I think we're just considering some Cardinals bats here. We've got their confirmed lineup in. You've got Nolan Gorman, 10.16 in the home run model. What's Gorman done lefty-lefty this year? Two of Gorman's 7 home runs against left-handed pitching, but slashing 167, 295, 333, a 167 ISO, 81 WRC plus. That's across 44 plate appearances against lefties this season. For the career, in 266 opportunities against left-handed pitching, he's got 10 home runs. He's got a 176 ISO, 215, 305, 391. Competent enough, but that 10-1-6 in a lefty-lefty stands out a little bit for me as maybe a little bit of an oddity in the home run model. But not taken off the board by lefties, is putting good bat on ball as usual, down from his typical barrel rates. But this is very good as far as just in raw form, 11.5% barrels, 44.2% hard hits. For the cheap price at $2,600, if you could stick him at second base from a desirable lineup today, you could take the power upside. He's hit 7 on the season. He's got a 188 ISO. He's creating runs 2% better than average. Arenado, we've talked about the struggles all season. He is up to 10 home runs. Just a 150 ISO, a 96 WRC plus. Nothing to like about a 300 xWOBA. And again, the swing is just lost. 4.1% barrels, 35.3% hard hits. If you're going to cards, he's definitely in the mix. He's only 3,000 at third base. You've got a lot of multi-position in this confirmed lineup. So easy to move the checkers around the board here and set up any kind of stack that you want. From that perspective, easy to play. From the upside perspective, you really have to temper expectations. He's at least giving you frequent bat on ball, just a 10.3% strikeout, a 7.3% walk, but there's not a lot there this year. Wilson Contreras giving you a lot of barrels, 13.8%, 46.8% hard hits, 11 home runs to lead the light hitting team, a 116 WRC plus with a tremendous xWOBA under the covers that suggests the 174 ISO should climb. Alec Burleson, likely to stay around that ISO. I think 173, maybe gets 180, 190 type range as the season goes on. Does have a 347 xWOBA, has hit 10 home runs on the season, and is pulling down a pretty solid slash line over 266 opportunities, a 123 WRC plus. He's been easily one of their better bats. He's low strikeout, medium walk, 13.5%, 5.3% walks, and good barrel and hard hit rates, but not standout numbers as far as that contact goes. That's why I'm saying I expect him to continue a moderate home run pace and a 180-ish, 185-ish ISO the rest of the way, which would be a good season for a cheap outfielder. He's easy to play. Mason Wynn, a mix and match quality shortstop on the full FanDuel slate. Obviously on that DraftKings Turbo, if you're playing that, there's only a few shortstops to work with. He's more in play over there. Easy enough to work with on FanDuel at 3,000 too, but I would rather probably have the shortstop spot dedicated to whoever I'm playing with the cards. He's got a good lineup spot. He's putting up a 104 WRC plus this season. Moderate slash line, 7 home runs, 4 steals. He's just okay. And for 3,000, he should be more like 2,600 like some of the other guys. Brendan Donovan, 4 position eligible. Is he down to 4? I thought he was 5 previously. I think he's down to 4. 6 home runs, 3 steals, 297, 366, 427. Putting up great numbers all season, consistently creating runs, 123 WRC plus. He's very involved and he's easy to move around the board. He's fully priced though. I don't want to pay much more than 3,000 for Brendan Donovan on any given slate. Targeting Andrew Heaney with him is fine. At the bottom of the lineup, Thomas Segisi, Pedro Pajes, and Victor Scott. Scott, if he gets on, can steal you some bases. 330 on base is pretty compelling from the bottom of the lineup for a cheap outfielder at 25. Wrap him around. You could get a little bonus upside against this pitcher. He could be on base a couple of times, steal a base, score a run. That's paid off that price. So he's not completely dead at the bottom, Pa has 6 home runs on the season, just a 144 ISO, a 77 WRC plus, a little less on the board. 62 okay plate appearances out of Sagisi, 271, but 290 on base, 390 slug is nothing appealing. Just a 271 xWOBA, has not really put great bat on ball. Does have a 45.7% hard hit, though. It'll be interesting to see where that mix goes. Pirates side, no lineup yet. All right, why don't you go lie down? Assuming it's this configuration, Adam Frazier up at the top. O'Neal Cruz moved down in the 5 spot where the power plays a little bit better. Couple big days over the last couple of games for Cruz. Hopefully coming out the other side of what was a little bit of an extended slump. 15 home runs, 27 steals still on the season, a 210 ISO, a 103 WRC plus. Given the talent we're talking about, he can only drop so far. Still a tremendous option, a 22.8% barrel rate, a 57.5% hard hit. When you're hitting the ball like that, when you're making contact like that, it's only a matter of time before your numbers surge. There's nothing that would keep that off the board for too long. It's just too good. So at 35 for shortstop outfield eligibility against Eric Fede, O'Neal Cruz is a tremendous option. 8.29 in the home run model, could easily be higher today. Up at the top, Frazier with 3 positions at 26. Getting on at just a 317 clip, 3 home runs, 7 steals over 253 chances. Not all that appealing, but playable. Just an 80 WRC plus, though. I'm probably still looking like Andrew McCutchen, Brian Reynolds, obviously Cruz, and maybe it's a 3-man. Maybe if I'm grabbing 4 on FanDuel, I can work with Brian Hayes, who's had some good plate appearances lately and is on the trade block in a big way. Joey Bart is interesting for cheap bat on ball, but you don't need the catcher position on the FanDuel slate. Spencer Harwitz is interesting, but first base only is not exactly where I want him. He's very cheap at 27 on FanDuel. Don't know what the eligibility is on DraftKings, but on the turbo slate, if he's got second base, he's kind of interesting. Typically with Harwitz, low strikeout, decent walk rate, good batted ball events, good ability to get to first base. It's a limited amount of plate appearances in the show so far, but that kind of pedigree, not a star prospect, but like a good 10-year major league career type utility man type of upside. Decent player for a very fair price. Again, I just don't love the first base. McCutch getting on a 342 clip, creating runs 8% better than average. One of their better players this season. Apparently one of 2 guys not on the trade block was the report. I guess if you can keep what is he, 40 now? Debuted in 2009. 38. About to be 39. Be 39 by season's end. But they love him out there. 9.2% barrels, 44.2% hard hits. Having a good year. Only cost $2,800 for, honestly, reasons that escape me against Eric Fede. Could easily be more expensive. Brian Reynolds not having a great year. 10 home runs, a 305 on base, just a 161 ISO. But you can see that standout 374 xWOBA under the coverage. You can see the 11.5% barrels, the 50% hard hits. We're not that far off the mark. He's striking out a little bit more, but the walks are right about the same. Just not quite on form, but when we're hunting for players for DFS value, for bargains, for underperforming stars, this is like exactly what we want to see. So major go forward upside still for Brian Reynolds. And some of the counting stats, some of the fantasy days have not been all bad. 45 ribbies on the season, 10 home runs is not nothing. Nick Gonzalez in the cleanup spot, if that's where he lands, is kind of an odd fit, but 300, 347, 478 over 98 plate appearances, 126 WRC plus this season, solid batted ball events, so easily playable for a fair price in the infield. Again, Bart, you don't need catchers over here. If you're playing over here on the turbo, fair enough. 9% barrels, 42.6% hard hits. Mediocre output for that kind of batted ball, but those are good batted ball events for a very cheap price. Talked about these guys. Again, Brian Hayes always has put good bat on ball. 48% hard hits, 7.4% barrels 2 years ago, 42.9, just 2.4% barrels last year, kind of in between those two seasons so far this year, but does not see a ton of output for the quality of contact. 2 home runs this year, 246, 297, 305, just a .060 ISO, a 296 xWOBA, 68 WRC plus. Teams want him, and he's a commodity at this trade deadline because of his elite glove at third base. His bat is dicey. He's low strikeout, low walk, so you get a lot of contact. And the idea being, playing in a different lineup could definitely help bolster some of these numbers. But it's more about just holding down third base with Gold Glove defense. IKF, mix and match quality bat at the absolute best, has stolen 10 bases on the season. This easily goes, well, maybe not easily. Actually, it's so not easy that I'm going to check how it ranked on the site. Stack rankings, part of the package over at rotoscouts.com, where promo code SARCASTIC with a K gets you 50% off of a week or a month for all subscribers. You don't have to be a new subscriber to take advantage of that. So go pop in there. If you're looking to come back, if you're finding us for the first time, let me actually trigger that banner one more time. Or probably just for the next time, not one more time. Let's see. Yeah, I have the Cards 4. 7 by value, 5th by home runs, 5th in Vegas. Pirates in the middle of the board. Ranked 8th by projection, tied for 8th with the Rays, it looks like. Rays putting up more of a value score. Pittsburgh technically the 3rd highest Vegas total, though, at 457. So Cards, Pirates right behind them. Really don't like either pitcher all that much, but if you're going there, I probably lean Fede just on depth and likelier clean innings and maybe bolstered by a little bit of high strikeout through some of these guys, but it's not a good option. All right, welcome in DraftKings. We took our time getting here. Now all these lineups dropped. What do we get? We got the Phils, Turner Schwarber. Oh, Bryce Harper back. Well, that's noteworthy. We did not have that. All right, we got to circle back real quick. Boom. Okay, Phillies get even more interesting because you've got a $3,000 Bryce Harper because FanDuel forgot who he is. I'm not entirely sure. 258, 368, 446, 9 home runs, 8 stolen bases before he left. A 387 xWOBA, a 126 WRC plus, and he only costs $3,000 against Matt Waldron. I have to edit my placeholder lineup. 10.7% barrels, 49.4% hard hits, and his name is Bryce Harper. 18.6% strikeouts, 13.8% walks. You get Bohm in the cleanup role now. You get Nicky Castellanos sliding down to the 5. You can see how this extends this lineup that I was already saying is cheap from 3 down, remains cheap from 3 down, and gets an elite player added to it that extends this lineup in a better way as a full 9-man. It's the same guys we talked about going down the lineup. It's all the top quality bats. Go nuts with Phillies. I mean, they're going to be chalky, but well worth it on that FanDuel slate. Pirates and the Pods still not in, but that was worth going back to. The other ones are, let's see, the Reds and the Red Sox are in. So we'll talk about the Yanks and the Blue Jays without confirmed lineups first. Yankees drawing a 4.64 implied total against Max Scherzer, who has made 2 starts at the major league level, 8 innings pitched this year, has a 5.63 ERA, 4.98 xFIP. Not sure if this kid's career is going to work out. 2 outings in AAA this season. 4 1/3 in both of them. Struck out 8 in against the Red Sox affiliate on June 18th. Went 4 1/3, faced 17 hitters, just gave up 1 hit, no runs. Came up, made a start against Cleveland at Cleveland, went 5, 3 earned runs allowed, 4 strikeouts, 3 walks. Obviously, we're going to give Max Scherzer plenty of leash as far as finding his form. 5 innings at 7,300 of Max against a lineup that definitely has strikeout in it, even with some numbers on the board for the Yankees, even if with a strong desire and path toward taking Yankees bats today. Max is not off the board at 73. Max is not off the board at 65. If Kyle Hendricks can strike out 8 of these guys over 7 innings or whatever, Max Scherzer can certainly strike out 8 of them over 5 and change. So plenty of upside. That said, Max is coming in those 2 starts with a 15.2% swing strikeout rate, a 5.4% swinging strike rate, a 26.4% CSW, a 95 rating by Stuff Plus, nearly 96. So obviously not exactly peak Max Scherzer either. Carlos Rodon, on the other hand, 29.7% strikeouts, a 2.92 ERA, a 3.35 xFIP, 103.97 rating by Stuff Plus. Does give up plenty of premium contact, does walk a few too many, but really been elite at keeping guys off base in general this year. Some success via BABIP, a sub-1 whip, a 13.4% swinging strike rate, 31.2% CSW. The one challenge there is, as I've said a few times already, 17.2% strikeout rate for this projected version of the Blue Jays lineup. You've got a low, a small sample from Davis Schneider there, but he's the highest strikeout rate there. 30%. That's a realistic 30% for him. Everybody else, those are the lower strikeout guys. So if anything, he's pushing it up in his small sample. So that's the one challenge. It does shave the projection down slightly for Rodon, but you're also paying a little bit less for him than the top of the board. Love the option on both sides. 101 2/3 innings in 17 starts too. Just giving you depth. Last time out, 6 innings. Time before that, 6 innings. 5 strikeouts against the Reds at Cincinnati. Just 4 hits, no runs. Was tremendous in a challenging ballpark. 7 strikeouts, gave up 3 earned runs over the 6 innings against the Angels. Wasn't great in that one, but the 3 earned runs came on 3 solo home runs. Just a little bit of wackiness in home run output from time to time with some of these top tier strikeout pitchers who do allow some contact when they slip. You see the same thing from a lot of aces. So just more of a oddity as far as output. 2 starts prior to that, he faced the Red Sox. He gave up 2 home runs in that game. That was a 5-run game. One of his worst outings of the year. Actually, that was tied for his highest earned run total of the year at 5. 2 10 strikeout games on the season, several 7 and 8 strikeout games on the season. Actually, he struck out 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He struck out 8 5 different times already this year. And then 2 10 strikeout games, a 9 strikeout game, a pair of 7 strikeout games. Tremendous option. 395 implied total for the Blue Jays. You can definitely go there, given the contact that Rodon allows. They're very cheap. They can give you some value, especially at the top of that lineup. Bo Bichette for 44, 3,000, slashing 272, 311, 427. Had been showing us a little bit more earlier in the season, but still has 11 home runs, hitting for a little bit of power this season. Just a 154 ISO, but carrying a 9.4% barrel, a 49.2% hard hit, 368 xWOBA under the covers. We should push these numbers back up as long as that contact keeps up. He's low strikeout, medium walk, so you get a lot of that high-quality contact. Easy option at 44 on DraftKings, 3,000 on FanDuel. Easy enough to play against the contact that Rodon can allow. And he is one of the guys that could potentially check Rodon's strikeout upside. Ernie Clement is another of those guys. 10.8% strikeout this year, 9-1 the year before, 7-7 the year before that. This is inarguably the best that Ernie Clement's been at an extended stint in the major leagues. 288 plate appearances. He's at 304, 347, 414. Only 4 home runs because he only barrels the ball in 2.1% of his batted ball events, has a 26.1% hard hit, but he's very competent as a table setter. Ahead of Vladdy Guerrero, ahead of Alejandro Kirk, George Springer, who's having a decent year still. Clement's carrying a 115 WRC plus. He's interesting enough. He's not an elite bat by any stretch. Light contact, just a 301 xWOBA. There's plenty to nitpick here, but he's also only 2,800 on FanDuel and he plays 4 positions. You know I prefer him at second base. 3,300 on DraftKings. He's very, very cheap. Third base is where you would land with him, but there's not another third base option conflicting in this version of the lineup. So easily playable there against the lefty. Running out a string of righties in the projected version of the lineup against Rodon, probably what we're going to see here. Vladdy Guerrero for only 54 has a 14.8% barrel, of 53.7% hard hit, 3,300 on FanDuel, even cheaper, carrying a 10.34 against all that contact that Rodon allows. 12 homers on the season, just a 171 ISO, but a 417 xWOBA on all that premium contact. His elite 13.1% walks and 13.6% strikeouts. Vladdy is a ridiculously tough hitter to get out. Alejandro Kirk for only 39, where you have to play catchers. Over 271 plate appearances. Kirk has been one of the better catcher bats in baseball. A 126 WRC plus, 315, 362, 435. Just 7 home runs, so it's maybe kind of quiet. But 39 runs batted in. Not that we care about runs batted in. It is not a predictive stat in any way. But just talking about what he's put up as far as counting stats for fantasy, he has been productive this year. And look at the contact. 9.8% barrels, 56.3% hard hits over an extended sample for Alejandro Kirk. That is a tremendous uptick in output, and he is not priced up at 3,900 against a pitcher who, again, if nothing else, gives up premium contact. Really interesting spot. And by the way, Kirk is another guy. 10% strikeouts, 7% walks this year. Last year, 13-2 against a 9.1. Year before, 10-7 against 10%. These guys are tough outs. George Springer, 4,800, very affordable for a guy with a 15% barrel, 44.5% hard hit. George Springer's career history, a 265, 360, 462 slash line this year, 198 ISO, 11 home runs, a 132 WRC plus. Springer's a great option in the outfield. 8.17 in the home run model against Rodon. If you're stacking Blue Jays, you want to have some George Springer for sure. Then we get a little bit more challenge for quality down the bottom of the lineup. These guys get really, really cheap. Davis Schneider, at least giving you double-digit barrels each of the last seasons in mixed samples. 60 pretty bad plate appearances, the source of strikeouts in this lineup. You have a little bit of strikeout on Jonathan Klaas, who is a light-hitting outfielder, mostly here for defense. 2 home runs, 3 steals. Pretty bad 67 WRC plus over his 110 chances. Miles Straw has never been a quality bat. Does have a little bit of speed if he's getting on. 6 stolen bases against his 287 on base so far this year. Pretty bad option at the bottom of the lineup. And then Andres Jimenez, second base only, 3,200, 2,600 at the Mendoza line, a 284 on base, a 68 WRC plus. Been a pretty rough year for Andres Jimenez. I think all 4 of those home runs came in the first 3 weeks of the season, no? Or maybe it was 3 and then another one later. Yeah, he hit 1 on June 10th. The other 3 literally came before April. He had 3 home runs in the first 5 games of the season, and he has 4 now. I think we talked about him not actually being that good. On the Yankees side, some obvious bats. Just depends on what they're rolling out there. They've got a lot of different configurations to go through. They've got a lot of guys they need to find plate appearances for. We saw Ben Rice take a catching spot again yesterday. He's got catcher eligibility on DK now. 4,200 is very interesting for that bat. If it's him and Austin Wells, you can go back and forth. Depending on, again, what the Yankees do. Those are 2 high-quality lefty power bats. 9.3% barrels and 48.8% hard hits from Austin Wells at 3,800 is still downright interesting. He's not the hitter necessarily that Ben Rice is. Rice is only barely scraping past him, though. 233, 328, 479 now for Ben Rice. Still has a monster 246 ISO. He has 14 home runs. He's carrying a 413 xWOB under the covers, given the ridiculous contact that he makes. The output kind of comes and goes. Still a young hitter finding his way. Not striking out a ton. Draws plenty of walks. But just behind that, 214, 275, 424 out of Wells. What Wells hasn't done as much this year is draw walks. 6.6% walk rate. But the contact from a cheap catcher, especially if Ben Rice draws people's eye at 4,200 at the catcher spot from the Yankees lineup, take an under-owned shot or 2 at Austin Wells. For sure. 7.97 for him in the home run model. And you can still get Ben Rice in that lineup at first base if you want to go with both of those guys. Trent Grisham, if he's leading off, very interesting still. A 346 on base is kind of more what I'm interested in than the power output with 15 home runs, a 223 ISO, 14.3% barrels. I'm more interested if he's leading off in that on base, in that table setting ability that he's got. I want to string him into Aaron Judge, Cody Bellinger, Giancarlo Stanton. That's what he's really there for, if he can maintain that. The power output's been nice. We'll see where it goes. 370 xWOBA, it's very real right now. Still striking out at a nearly 24% rate, but drawing a 13.2% walk. It's the best he's been. Aaron Judge is Aaron Judge, 65, 49. It doesn't really matter what those numbers are. If you can get him into your lineup, you do. 30 home runs on the season after a monster weekend, or really was just yesterday. 356, 458, 722, 366 ISO. I think he went 0 for 5 one day and then a 2 home run day yesterday, if I'm remembering correctly. Cody Bellinger, 45, 3,200, 11 home runs, 8 stolen bases, a 270, 332, 460 slash line. Creating runs 21% better than average. Solid lefty to throw at the corpse of Max Scherzer. Giancarlo Stanton at just 3,500, 2,800. Over 38 plate appearances, haven't gotten their output from Giancarlo. The swing looked good on his return, and he is carrying a 52.2% hard hit rate in his batted ball events, just a 4.3% barrel. He hasn't found barrels early in his return. Striking out at a 28.9, drawing a 10.5% walk, right around where we would expect him, slightly improved upon the last 2 seasons. Those numbers will change rapidly in a larger sample. But I'm still fully expecting the power to arrive. 13.69 in the home run model, obviously, with a very long memory. Jazz Chisholm at 5,000, 3,500, 13 homers, 10 steals on the season for Jazz, a 336 on base, 363 xWOBA, even more interestingly, given his 16.3% barrel, 44.2% hard hits, against a scuffling version of Max Scherzer, potentially. Second and third base eligible on both sides. Sign me up for some Jazz Chisholm, 133 WRC+. Anthony Volpe is having a decent season as far as putting decent bat on ball, improving in some areas like his walk rate. 9 home runs on the season, 9 stolen bases, but a 183 ISO, supported a little bit by the doubles that he's put up. I'm really here for the walks, pushing a 6.1% walk rate from last season and 8.7 the year before, up to 10.2. Striking out a little bit more than last year, but still under the rate from 2 years ago. He's an aggressive swinger. Getting on at a 311 on base, creating runs 3% better than average, costs just 39, just 3,000. He is an easy way to cheapen up a Yankee stack. Fill a position with a quality enough upside bat that people tend to underuse. He's not great. He's got his definite flaws, but he's playable if you're stacking Yankees. And then DJ is kind of similar in terms of playable if you're stacking Yankees. 48.8% hard hits. 9.9% walk rate. He's getting on 322 on base over his 121 plate appearances. Just 2 home runs, just a .083 ISO, a 301 xWOBA, but there's plenty to nitpick. But DJ's got some pedigree for being lower strikeout than he's been. The walks are very real and can easily make premium contact, can serve as a table resetter, as a wraparound guy the second, third, and fourth times through this lineup. So plenty of upside. We'll see what the Yankees actually roll out. Carlos Rodon, Yankees bats, Blue Jays bats, cheap darts at Max Scherzer. Again, Max not off the board against the Yankees team that we just saw get eliminated by Angels pitching the week before last. So in no way is Max off the board at these cheap prices. As long as I know I can book 5 innings, which I think we can, there's enough. The pitching duel of the day. We have these lineups in. Max Video loves rice. Sushi rice is the best. They opened either a new or rebranded version of the sushi place next door to me. It used to be like a just closed like counter takeout kind of place, but like high end, like good actual sushi, not like, fast foody kind of supermarket gas station sushi. I had heard that they were moving their operation down the street. I think they just moved the kitchen down the street and now they've got like a little sit down joint, but it might be just a totally new place next door. Either way, I got to get in there and try it. Reds lineup, Red Sox lineup are in. Let me pop them in here. So Chase Burns, couple runs allowed, did give up a home run in that debut, but you really can't argue with the 8 strikeouts in the debut. Was tremendous. Every bit the talent that he's supposed to be. 5 innings, 38.1% strikeouts. Didn't walk anybody, which is definitely noteworthy. Dallasy. That's the one thing that we got to watch. In AAA this year, an 8.7% walk. That's in just 2 starts. Made most of his starts at AA. Had a couple high A starts. 42 innings, 8 starts at AA. Had a 36.4% strikeout, a 2.6% walk. And then in the high A sample, 44.4% strikeouts, 11.1% walks. If you want to get into NCAA numbers, you have to look at 2024. Kid is ridiculous. Plenty of upside at these prices, 8,000. 8,800, like I said in the rundown, a little bit of concern at 88, just about what the ceiling really looks like. We got 5 innings out of him in that start against the Yanks. Again, gave up 6 hits, 3 earned runs, didn't walk anybody, struck out 8. I don't know that we necessarily push into or beyond a 6th. So I question whether we necessarily have the best option for a quality start on the board. I think you could put up a quality start, but not a quality start, this statistic, if you get me. That said, multiple 7 innings and 6 inning outings, 2 7-inning starts, a 6-inning start, and went into the 6th in AAA. 7 innings in AAA, 5 1/3 in AAA, and then 7 innings and 6 innings in AA, going back over his last 4 minor league starts. So was showing that depth in the minors. If he blazes a trail through the Red Sox, he's allowed 2 hits, no runs, and we're about to decide what's going on for the 6th inning. Do they send him back out there at 80 pitches? Sure. I don't see why not. If he's given up a few hits, similar pitch count, faced a handful of hitters, been in some challenging spots, high strikeout game, but maybe walks a couple today, I don't know for sure that we're getting that 6th, just because he's such a precious arm for them. 8,000 on a shorter DraftKings slate with 6 games, much more in play over there. Critical piece on the DK slate, I would say. Monster upside, and if you get 6 innings, it just goes up from there. Garrett Crochet, even higher upside, 10-7, 11-2, fully priced, 109 1/3 over 17 starts, pitching to ridiculous depth that I wouldn't be allowing him to do, but I am not a major league pitching coach. 2.06 ERA, a 2.71 xFIP, 31.3% strikeouts on 13.7%, swinging 29%. CSW has been ridiculous this year. Just absolutely one of the best pitchers in baseball right now. Dominant southpaw. Love the option. Fire away against these Reds. They come in with a 26.4% strikeout rate on the season. That's pushed up somewhat by 48.4 from Rhys Hines in just 31 plate appearances. But you're still working with, if you go like that, 23.6. Definitely targetable enough. There are a few guys in here who have drawn some walks. There are a few competent righty bats in this lineup. You got a little bit of power threat with Matt McClain. Ellie could certainly turn on 118 home runs on the season for Ellie, a 227 ISO, 131 WRC plus. Obviously, their biggest threat on any given slate. 5,800, 3,900 for him. Him and Matt McClain up at the top are my pairing to go to. If I'm looking to stack up Reds, then maybe I grab a couple of the other righties. Like if I'm on DK, maybe some $3,600 Tyler Stevenson gets interesting. We've talked about Stevenson plenty. For that price on DraftKings, if you're just buying into the premium contact, there's plenty of challenge for the strikeouts, but he's drawn some walk. The strikeouts were lower in previous seasons, so maybe you get by on just some of the history there. Just as likely to give you a 0, or probably more likely to give you a 0 against Crochet than to go out there and homer against a guy with just a 2.09% home run rate on very managed contact. But Stevenson does have that ability, given that kind of contact. That said, only 6 home runs and 184 chances this year, just a 168 ISO. Last year, he had 19 in 515 chances, had a 186 ISO, 13 in 517 the year before on similar kinds of contact. Rhys Hines, despite all the strikeouts, does make decent contact from the right side when he's in the mix. Not a ton of plate appearances to work with this year, but 2 home runs on the board at 233 ISO. Last year, hit 5 in 51 chances. So he's put good bat on ball in tiny samples. Christian Encarnacion Strand has major power upside. We'll see where it goes. His name is a mess in this Fantasy Labs thing. Let me fix it so that I just get it when I do the update. 44.3% hard hit, 8% barrels on the season, 5 home runs and 121 plate appearances, but a 193, 223, 360. He is a 1 or 2 true outcomes. He's an out or maybe a home run, and much more frequently an out. That said, cheap batted ball at the corners for a little bit of premium contact upside, 2,500. If you're choosing to target Garrett Crochet, the big righty on the corners can be in the mix. 4.77 on a day where the Reds are drawing essentially no power at a very low implied total. He is one of the higher end options for power upside that they have. Santiago Espinal is in no way a power option. He's not even a good wraparound play at a 289 on base, a 58 WRC plus. Pretty limited down lineup. What he is low strikeout. Maybe he puts bat on ball, finds a single along the way, and gives you 3 points. TJ Friedl up at the top at 42.29. Better option on FanDuel, probably. Lefty bat, 284, 373, 418. What's he doing against lefties? Not that we're really looking to target Garrett Crochet, but we'll at least ask the question. Against righties, he's slashing 306, 395, 452 this year with a 146 ISO. 847 OPS, a 134 WRC plus. Against same-handed pitching, he's slashing 230, 316, 333 with a 103 ISO, a 650 OPS, an 81 WRC plus. He's at 2 of those 8 home runs. That's in 99 plate appearances against same-handed pitching, 257 plate appearances against righties. So pretty much all of his production has come against righties. Not a great spot against the best lefty or one of the best lefties in baseball today. Matty McClain is cheap, 37.27. Given the 9 home runs, the 11 steals, the quality we saw from him 2 years ago, has not really found his footing overall this season, but at least a good spot in the lineup if you're looking to go to this team. It's really probably about like those 3 and Tyler Stevenson, and then just pick a guy. Probably either Reese Hines or Spencer Steer for me. They're the same price, so it doesn't really matter. Maybe it's Encarnacion Strand. Since you don't have a first baseman in the mix, actually, maybe it is actually Encarnacion Strand. You do that. It's 4,100 a man to attack Garrett Crochet in Fenway Park. We've seen crazier things happen, but it is not high probability. Red Sox lineup at a 4.23 implied total against Burns. Given that it's his second ever start, given that we might have an opportunity to target some Reds bullpen action here, he did give up a home run to the Yanks. He gave up 3 runs. 90.2 miles an hour average exit velo in that game, 53.8% hard hits, 24.1 degree average launch, so fly ball trajectory. Some of these Red Sox could capitalize, but again, this is a lineup largely made up of guys who have kind of lost their form over time and injury, guys who are quad A types, like Abraham Toro, like Carlos Narvaez, Sedan Rafaela. High-end prospects who are unproven, like Roman Anthony, Marcelo Mayer. Tons and tons of talent, but those are the kids that this guy was just dominating in the minor leagues, like I said before. So you can see a clear path for success for Chase Burns, but you can also see a little bit of quality for some cheap Red Sox. Jarren Duran, plenty of barrels, plenty of hard hits, not really finding success with it this year like he did last year. A 150 ISO, just a 94 WRC plus, 5 homers, 15 steals. We're way off the mark production-wise, but not really so much over here. Those numbers are actually improved upon those numbers, and certainly on those. Strikeouts slightly up, walks slightly down. Having a little bit of an impact. We're just getting a little bit unlucky. 8.81 in the home run model today. Definitely on the board if you're throwing darts at Chase Burns. Roman Anthony easily in that mix. 3,900, very cheap. You're never going to see him at these cheap prices again, assuming he delivers at all on what he's supposed to be. He's got 1 home run, 1 stolen base, a 367 xWOBA over his 68 plate appearances, given a 15% barrel, a 50% hard hit. Just needs to have some success. Find him, really. He's doing everything he needs to do. 25% strikeouts, 14.7% walks. Kid's a star in the making. Take advantage while you can. Abraham Toro, 29-28, mix and match quality across multiple positions. Low strikeout, low walk, medium quality batted ball events. Slashing 285, 324, 460, and 5 home runs, but kind of declining, I believe. Feel like those numbers have come down slightly over the last couple of weeks, no? It's a limited sample. It's the best we've really ever seen him in an extended stretch, but it's still only 148 plate appearances. You're not really selling out for Abraham Toro shares, but he's also not priced up for the performance. Carlos Narvaez at 3,700, 2,800 at catcher. perfectly playable. He's got 7 home runs on the year, just a 171 ISO, a solid slash line at 272, 351, 442, a 120 WRC plus. One of the better bats on this team, but not necessarily a guy I want to use to target Chase Burns with. 24.5% strikeouts. Again, more playable on DraftKings probably at 37. You don't have necessarily a go-to first baseman on this Red Sox team right now, though, so you can play him on FanDuel if you're taking Red Sox bats. Abreu, probably right now my favorite bat on this team. 14 home runs on the year, carrying a 219 ISO, a 353 xWOBA on 12.6% barrels, 44.6% hard hits. Got in the mix, I think, at the end of last week against the lefty. You see him mostly platoon out in those spots, but then comes in and pinch hits. Today, against a righty starter, I love the upside. Find some premium contact, find a home run, 8.90 in the home run model, 4,200, 2,800 across sites. Pretty affordable, given the quality. Trevor Story, despite some underperformance over here, you do have 11 home runs and 13 steals. Decent run in RBI numbers on the board so far from just talking about counting stats. Underperforming via WRC+, underperforming via xWOBA. The 131 ISO is ugly. The 234, 276, 365 is atrocious. Striking out too much, not drawing nearly enough walks, but making interesting contact for such a cheap shortstop. 3,200 on FanDuel is not necessarily cheap. 37 on DraftKings is very cheap. Marcelo Mayer, given the quality, 2,900, 2,300. Infield eligible on both sides. You can definitely go there given the 9.6% barrels, the 59.6% hard hits. 4 home runs in a sample of 84 plate appearances is a pretty good home run pace. He's striking out plenty in the show at 31% so far, but a 221 ISO, just an 84 WRC plus, just a 292 xWOBA. It's a mixed journey so far for him, but the kid's got a lot of prospect pedigree, a lot of upside. David Hamilton steals bases, just a 219 on base kind of prevents that, though. 12 stolen bases on the season, a 35 WRC plus. Not all that good from the bottom of the lineup. And Ceddanne Rafaela continues to put decent bat on ball. 9 home runs, 11 steals this season. Looks a lot like last year with improved batted ball events. 36, 29, still cheap. Has second base eligibility on FanDuel, just outfield on DraftKings. Garrett Crochet, Chase Burns, Red Sox bats, and it's really tough to justify too many shares of Reds. Tizzlemane says, I love throwing a few Sox stacks in while I watch the game, even versus a great pitcher. What's this kid's weakness, and which hitters would be the ones to capitalize in your opinion? Weakness, few and far between. I would probably, I don't have like lefty-righty splits for him in the minors in front of me, but I would probably look to stack up some of those lefty high contact, premium contact bats that I talked about. Right, like Willier would be in the mix. Duran and Anthony would definitely be in the mix. And you're just looking to buy some of this premium contact for cheap. And you're hoping that you get another day like this, where as elite as he was over 5 innings for those strikeouts, did give up a few very, very high quality batted ball events. Certainly they could play well in Fenway Park. But the kid is absolutely tremendous. .98 mile an hour average four-seam velo over 48 four-seamers. Throws a slider that generated a 40% whiff rate against the Yanks. 2,800 RPMs of spin. And where's his movement chart? Curveball with 47.7-inch vertical drop is negative 3.9 versus comparable. So that's actually I like the mix. Where's the slider? Yeah, the slider plus 2.5-inch vertical drop, 6.5-inch horizontal break, so plus 3.2 over the average. 89.4 mile an hour slider. Only threw 8 changeup. Primarily was using the four-seamer, the slider, and finding, again, tremendous success with it. 26.1% whiffs on the four-seamer, 40% again on the slider. I would expect a similar mix. So, yeah, again, that one I would go pitcher and Red Sox bats over Reds bats. Getting back to this one. So the A's drawn just a 3.57 implied total in this one. Kind of curious. Drew Rasmussen's been good over his 16 starts, 84 and a third innings, a 2.45 ERA, a 3.54 xFIP, allowing just 2.48% home runs, keeping the ball in the yard, keeping the ball down at just an 8.6 degree average launch, 5.7% barrels in the mix, 44.1% hard hits, a 90.7 mile an hour exit velo. You know, on the wrong day in this ballpark, that could play against him. But Stuff Plus is well above average. Sub 1 whip. Low walk rate against a average strikeout rate. Maybe not a top tier DFS option, but at 7,500, there's plenty of value there against the team with a 24.8% strikeout rate over this projected version of the lineup. We've got the confirmed. I'll pop it in here. But this is a team that can definitely pump a mistake or two into the seats in this ballpark. So you're not entirely safe with Rasmussen. You're not entirely correctly priced, in my opinion, on FanDuel with Rasmussen either. 8,700. He has 4 starts in which he completed the 6th inning this season. Quality start in each of them. No more than 5 strikeouts. Two of them were 5 strikeouts. 2 of them were 3 strikeouts. Peaked at 8 strikeouts against the Rangers on June 3rd. Not a monster DFS pitcher. Not a monster for depth of start. So that's where you get a little challenged here. I need that 6th inning if you're going to charge me 8,700 for Drew Rasmussen. Or I need a few strikeouts along the way. Let me fix our Max Muncy here. If we're looking at Jacob Lopez, it's kind of similar. 9,000 on FanDuel. I don't know how much I really want to go up there when the Rays are drawing a 4.52 implied total against. But I mentioned the quality in 4 straight outings. It was a short start, 4 innings against the Orioles. Struck out 5, walked 2, 1 unearned run on 4 hits. 6 innings against the Royals. No runs, 3 hits, 9 strikeouts. Low strikeout Royals team too. Low strikeout Astros team, 9 strikeouts, 3 walks, 1 earned run on 4 hits over 6. 3-hitter, shut out the Tigers in Detroit over 7 innings, 6 strikeouts on a walk. Those are elite numbers over a handful of starts. We don't want to get too excited about recent results, but at least it puts them on the board against a Rays team that not aggressively high strikeout, but plenty of strikeouts in that lineup, 22.6% on average with some higher numbers than that in there. 28.9% strikeout rate overall for Lopez across his 43 innings, his 7 starts, 3.56 ERA, but a 4.25 xFIP. Just a 92.17 Stuff Plus rating, but does have a 12.5% swinging strike rate, a 29% CSW on the season. So again, elite punch-out ability for only 7,000 is really interesting on the DraftKings slate, even in this ballpark, even against a quality Rays team. 9,000 is rough on FanDuel. My hope would be at least get them lower owned over there because of it, because of people drawn to the Rays at a 4.5 implied total against him. That is a rough price there. I need my 6-7 innings. I need my strikeouts if I'm going all the way up the ladder for Jacob Lopez. You can see how he projects. He's kind of middle of the board projection-wise. A's bats against Rasmussen. Lawrence Butler up at the top, 45-31, 11 home runs, 13 steals on the season. Mixed output overall, a 180 ISO, a 105 WRC plus, though, is putting good bat on ball like he did over the last couple seasons. Gotta like the upside, gotta kind of bank on at least a little bit of improved output, or at least, some up and down performance throughout the second half with some very good days. I'm just interested in the top of the lineup. You get a lefty bat up there for a fair price, fill out an outfield spot, and then I get into the quality. Jacob Wilson still slashing 338, 380, 471. We're talking about base hit quality. We're talking about a table setter there, but a 138 WRC plus, putting him behind Butler, where if Butler's on, we can knock him in with a single because he's got some speed. If he's in scoring position, if he's at second base, he's scoring on a single. And then we just keep things rolling with some sequencing. We roll right into Brent Rooker, who's slashing 271, 347, 485 with a 394 xWOBA, 14.3% barrels on the season, 17 home runs. Rooker is an elite bat. Kurtz, 3,700, 3,400, differently priced across sites, I think pretty dramatically. DraftKings just not paying attention. 183 plate appearances. Kurtz has 12 home runs, a 256, 317, 518 slash, a 262 ISO, 14.7% barrels, 48.6% hard hits. He's 2 home runs short of what Tyler Soderstrom's done all season after that ridiculously hot start. He's 5 home runs short of where Brent Rooker is all season. What are we doing at 3,700 on DraftKings? That's absurd. Yes, there are strikeouts here. Yes, Drew Rasmussen is good at limiting home runs. This kid is good at finding them, good at hitting them. Shea Langolier's back in the lineup, 35-28, cheap for the power upside. He also wasn't striking out at 18.7% and 8.7% walk rate so far this year. Had 10 home runs on the season, over 230 plate appearances, a 193 ISO. Doing Shea Langolier's things as far as the power, the premium contact goes, and we were really intrigued by that improvement by 10 points in the strikeout rate. We'll see what happens in the return to the lineup, but he's very cheap. Soderstrom, the output comes and goes. 14 home runs is not quite on pace for how he started this season, but still very good numbers overall. 252, 336, 430. Creating runs 13% better than average, a 356 xWOB under the covers. More to give as far as the output goes. Still 12.2% barrels, 47.6% hard hits from the left side in this ballpark. Sign me up for some upside. You can see Rasmussen's impact in the home run model, though. I mean, all these guys slightly above halfway to the magic number, but these are guys who are typically chasing the magic number pretty closely. This Max Muncy, 2,800, 2,500 across sites, slashing just 201, 252, 333 with a 59 WRC plus. If you take a Max Muncy, make it the other one. Luis Urias, 29, 26, 7 home runs on the year, 240, 321, 369, and 93 WRC plus. Capable of hitting a home run in any given situation. But again, you're kind of challenged for home run output against Drew Rasmussen. So if I'm chasing it, I'd probably rather go to some of the higher up guys. If I'm building a bunch of A stacks, then Luis Urias is much more on the board. Or if I just need to cheapen up a 5-man on DK at second base for 29, there's enough there that you can use Urias. Denzel Clark, some phenomenal defense so far. 2 home runs on the board, I guess you could throw into the mix. Yep, it is exactly those guys. No problem, bud. I know that's a comment from 10 minutes ago now. Bunch of people here hanging out. Hit the, I went like this. Hit the thumbs down for me. Hit the like button, the thumbs up one for me. It's down there is what I meant to do. After you go past down to that, go a little bit further down. There's a link to the free Discord. Don't need to be a subscriber at the website to join the Discord. It would help if you subscribe over at rotoscouts.com. We've got a little promo going. I'll pop it up there. Through the end of this week, through the 4th, promo code SARCASTIC with a K, all lowercase. Gets you 50% off of a week or a month. New subscribers, old subscribers, anybody who wants it, go take advantage. Half off of the already under $1 a day price point on both of those plans. Doesn't apply to the quarterly plan. If you want a discount on the quarterly, just ping me in Discord and we'll set something up for you individually. But I didn't throw that out there as a promo. Raise bats. Yandy Diaz at the top of the lineup, 46-31, has 13 home runs. We're up to 291, 346, 472. Looking a lot more like Yandy Diaz over time. 130 WRC plus, creating a ton of runs, a 372 xWOBA. Tremendous batted ball events, 4,600, 3,100, perfectly fairly priced to throw that righty bat against Jacob Lopez. I like the upside for Yandy. If the Rays pay off, I would expect him to be very much in the mix. Curtis Mead, still pretty cheap at 2,700 at second base, third base on DraftKings. I say still pretty cheap. He's had some decent games. maybe we shouldn't get too excited about where the price ought to be. But a 40.3% hard hit, a 6.5% barrel rate so far. 236, 328, 358. We're a little underwhelming in the average and the slug department, but a 328 on base is a little bit capable. 122 plate appearances, 3 homers, 3 steals, a 320 xWOB under the covers, and a league average 100 WRC plus. For that price at second base at the top of the lineup here, I'm kind of interested if I'm going to raise stacks to include Curtis Mead at 2,200 on FanDuel at second base. I'm very interested. I would expect them to be more like 25, 26 over here, more like 32 over here. So I do think there's a little discount, especially hitting second. Junior Caminero, only 49 on DraftKings. Again, I don't know what they're paying attention to. Should probably be in the fives. 3,400 on FanDuel could easily be 37, 38 in this opportunity. 20 home runs on the season, over 329 chances. That's not good enough. 252 ISO, a 127 WRC plus. What does a kid need to do? 10.9% barrels, 48% hard hits. The Rays are easy to afford here. Chris Morel has given us very little for that swing that we absolutely love. He is a member. He's a citizen of that little elite swing speed island that we talked about at the beginning of the season from last year. So far this year, 15% barrels, 46% hard hits. I haven't pulled the same graph up for this year as far as mapping the swing speed. 177 limited plate appearances, but is putting bat on ball in a way that suggests that swing speed is very much still there. And it's elite contact when you get it. 34.5% strikeouts is challenging for giving you that contact. It's very much a home run or a big batted ball event or a strikeout. 224, 294, 404. We don't draw enough walks. Not a 3 true outcomes guy. And again, not really finding success with 6 homers and 177 chances. A 180 ISO, not completely paying off those batted ball events. But against the lefty that we're not entirely sure is going to keep up the numbers that he's been putting up against a fly ball oriented lefty in a homer happy park, I will take my chances with some Christopher Morel for 36, for 23, second, third, and outfield on FanDuel. You can make this raise stack for really cheap prices. Even if you just top 4 it, you're at $27.50, and that includes Jan Dian Jr. Still no love for Jake Mangum, even though he is at 316, 354, 392 over his 182 opportunities. We're talking about light contact. We're talking about a 29-year-old quad A type player. He doesn't strike out much. He's found some success via BABIP. 1 home run, 11 steals, does have a 115 WRC plus, just a 294 xWOBA, just a .076 ISO. There's a lot not to like here. They did bring Chandler Simpson back up. They sent Misner out. Simpson not in the lineup today. I would much rather have Chandler Simpson than Jake Mangum. Jonathan Aranda, 47-31, 10 home runs on the season, a 406 on base. Very interesting player with a 159 WRC plus. 4,700, you do have the positional conflict with Aranda and Yandy Diaz ongoing throughout the season on DK. Less challenging on FanDuel, especially when I can move everybody else around the board to my heart's content, basically, with those appealing mix and match with multi-position options. Aranda's more playable on that FanDuel slate at that cheaper price. Jose Caballero, 41 shortstop outfield, not really ideal on DK, but it is a shorter slate over there. Probably more in the mix at short on the DraftKings slate or in the outfield. More in the mix at second base for 28 on the FanDuel slate. 324 on base and 29 steals, a little correlated scoring, a little stolen base upside is the appeal of Caballero and fills a spot for a cheap price. But that's really all it is. 8 home runs, but a sub-Mendoza, 203 plate appearances at a Danny Jansen. Mix and match quality catcher. Very cheap at 32 where you have to play the position. Playable at 25, but I'd rather have the other 2 first basemen in combination with one another than Danny Jansen. Taylor Walsh, another stolen base upside guy getting on it. Just a 284 clip, has a 65 ISO that kind of speaks for itself. Not that appealing bottom of the lineup. I guess we got to go raise bats. But it's kind of close. I think it's Rays bats, Drew Rasmussen, Jacob Lopez, A's bats, and everything kind of crunched up a little bit more than maybe that A's Vegas total would indicate. Like Shawno at 53 asks, car-casting. The K only in the middle, like this. 53 asks, car casting. The K only in the middle, like this. 53 asks, car casting. The K only in the middle, like this. 53 asks, car casting. The K only in the middle, like this. 53 asks, car casting. The K only in the middle, like this. 53 asks, car casting. The K only in the middle, like this. 53 asks, car casting. The K only in the middle, like this. 53 asks, car casting. The K only in the middle, like this. 53 asks, car casting. The K only in the middle, like this. 53 asks, car casting. The K only in the middle, like this. 53 asks, car casting. The K only in the middle, like this. 53 asks, car casting. The K only in the middle, like this. 53 asks, car casting. The K only in the middle, like this. 53 asks, car casting. The K only in the middle, like this. 53 asks, car casting. The K only in the middle, like this. 53 asks, car casting. I imagine most of you get the joke. So sarcastic with a K where the first C ought to be. Don, any team you like for large field GPP today? That's what this entire show is about, bud. I'm still trying to find out how to pick GPP players for large field. I'm hand building. I'm a rookie at MLB baseball. Yeah, no sweat, dude. So you want to be stacking, right? So you're just looking to draw multiple players from the same team even in large field GPP. I don't think there's anything wrong with going to a stacky team, chalky team. If you're playing on the FanDuel slate, I like that Phillies team that we talked about with that 5+ implied total. Yanks bats are going to be in play in a big way on DraftKings. I like these Orioles that we're about to talk about against Patty Corbin, even with their up and down performances on the season. There's a lot to like in their barrels. They're hard hits. Some of these big righty bats for cheap prices. You're going to get some popularity there. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with combining two popular teams, because when you're doing that, just through how the players will mix across positions where, you'll commonly get really big bats at first base, third base, shortstop, one of the outfield spots, and then you'll get some lesser options mixed through middle infield, through catcher at cheaper prices, bottom of the lineup guys at lower ownership. Just with the way that the mechanics of building a full baseball lineup work, you're going to get to unique combinations. You're going to get to leveraged positions anyway, especially if you're manipulating, if you run like crunches or whatever, and it sounds like you're just kind of hand building one. But you just given, like I was saying, just given how that comes together, I would really worry less about just like the idea that it's a GPP rather than if I'm building one lineup, I want it to be one pretty damn good lineup, right? I want something that can kind of cut through all the noise of the GPP with some elite bats in combination with one another in two good spots. And then maybe I can get a little bit more cute with pitching, especially on a slate like this, where there's so much value pitching. You can make one small pivot to a pitcher who is slightly lower priced than a more popular option, projected a half a point lower, and pick up major opportunity against the slate, against people who are drawing the same bats. So I think in one lineup for GPPs, that would be my probably biggest tip, if you want to call it a tip, would be sweat less about the popularity of your bats. Don't worry about taking somewhat obvious bats. If you want to go, like, if you're looking at the stacks board, let's say, say, all right, I don't want to take the top team because everybody will do that. Or I don't want to take a team at Coors Field because everybody will do that. Go to the second, third teams. Just go right to the board and just look at what those teams are ranked as. Look at the guys drawing the biggest projections in the model. That's how I would look at bats. And across more and more lineups, obviously you diversify your portfolio, you make the unique combinations, and there's a lot more to it if you're building a lot of lineups. But if we're talking about hand building, 1, 3, 5 handful of lineups like the casual player, then I would look at it that way. And I think taking the diversification, taking the discount for a slight difference on the mound can make a tremendous difference in one lineup. Doug saying FanDuel is projecting Hellman to start and bat second for Texas. Doesn't look like we've got it in. This lineup has him. Do I have him in this one? Yeah. Has him 9th. We'll see where it falls. Oops. Hellman, 1 game, no plate appearances so far this year. Another guy, quad A type. He's 29 and change. Has made 10 plate appearances in the show. Over 207 minor league plate appearances this year, 134 with Texas, 73 in AAA with St. Louis. He is slashing 225, 290, 396 with a 70 WRC plus, a 171 ISO, 6 home runs, and 7 stolen bases. I'll remind you, as a 29-year-old against AAA pitching. If he's batting second, that's a mistake. Not all that appealing. He is min-priced, just kind of as a mixer, second base eligible. So DFS-wise, if you're looking to roster Rangers against a gettable enough Trevor Rogers, then sure, can be in the mix. If he's hitting higher up in the lineup as a right-handed bat, just to throw at the lefty, maybe that's why they're thinking that, then sure. But it's a little difficult to eyeball the quality here. Back in 2022, over 581 plate appearances in mostly AAA. He hit 20 home runs and stole 40 bags. Maybe that's where some of it's coming from, but that was several years ago, and that was as a 26-year-old against AAA pitching, with some of it coming at AA. I don't know. Difficult to see outside of the min price, but also, again, depends a little bit lineup dependent. Rogers over 3 starts, 16 and 2/3. Did mention before that 2 of those outings were pretty damn good. 6 1/3 of 2-hit ball, faced 22 Red Sox back on May 24th. 2 hits, no runs, 5 Ks, no walk. Came back on the 18th of June to face the Rays at Tampa Bay and got Tampa Bay'd. 2 1/3. We were on him that day. It was a disappointment. He was very, very cheap that day. I would do it again. I would tell you to do it again. Sorry. 4 strikeouts, 3 walks that day, gave up 3 earned on 5 hits. It wasn't a complete meltdown, but only faced 15 hitters. We didn't get the depth we were looking for. Followed that one up. I think it was on a slate that we weren't, it was an off main slate outing. I forget. 8 innings. I just don't remember talking about the opportunity. 3-hitter against Texas. No runs, 4 strikeouts and a walk and no walks. That was the game we were looking for against the Rays. Wouldn't shock me against this Rangers team if he went out. It's the same team. So it wouldn't shock me if he went out and did that, or not that, but had another good start for only 63-73. Projects out fairly well. This is a guy who had major strikeout potential and a couple decent strikeout stints in the show. In 2022, for Miami, made 2021 made 25 major league starts, 133 innings. This is across multiple boards, sorry. 28.5% strikeout rate that year. Then 2022 missed most of the season, a little bit of work coming back in the minors. Oh, no, sorry. 2022 was 107 innings, 23 starts in the show, a couple starts in the minors. It was more time missed in 23. Made just 4 starts in the show in 2023. In that stint in 2022, this again, I'm reading to you from a board that is completely all over the place between different stints at different levels. The 2022 sample, 22% strikeout rate against a 9.4% walk rate in the show. A little bit more challenged that season. And then over 25 starts in the show last year. I can actually show you those numbers. 25 starts, 124 1/3 last year, 17.3% strikeouts, a 10% walk rate, 4.92 ERA against a 4.70 xFIP. It was pretty ugly coming back, a 1.58 whip. Again, only made 4 starts in the show back in 23. But does have potential at these prices. 6,300, 7,300 is not at all expensive against a Rangers team that overall low strikeout, but a couple targetable strikeout guys in the heart of the lineup with some of their bigger bats is at least somewhat appealing. And everybody's underperforming on this team. Against the guys that have any kind of sample in this projected lineup, that's a collective 233, 297, 367 slash line, with an average 87 WRC plus. There are a lot of name brands still in this lineup. There's a lot of guys you want to get to. There's a lot of guys who, like Adolis Garcia, at least putting still justifiable bat on ball. Corey Seager still putting great bat on ball. Not finding great results for it, but they've gotten cheap. There are things to fear in this lineup, but Trevor Rogers is good enough to carve them up again at 63 at 73. So very much on the board. Corbin at 6,700, 18.5% strikeouts this year, a 4.24 ERA with a 4.25 xFIP. He's just been exactly what he looks like on the surface. Hasn't gotten completely obliterated for home runs, but we're at 3.76% home runs, 8.9% barrels on a fly ball trajectory from a pitcher that we've targeted for home run downside. He's finding a 10.6% swinging strike rate, but just a 27.2% CSW, 7.2% walks so far. Typical output as far as the strikeouts and walks from him. A little bit more on the home runs, but similar as far as some of the premium contact numbers. It's a gettable starter. It's a cheap Orioles lineup that we still don't have. I'm looking to get to Orioles. I just want to see what they end up coming out with. There are a couple key lefty bats in this lineup. Jackson Holiday up top. Rangers just dropped. Let's see where, what's his face landed. Michael Hellman in the 9 spot. Look at that. Is it exactly the same lineup? I think it is. We'll get there. So 41-31 for Jackson Holiday, who's hit 10 homers, stolen 9 bases, carrying a 343 xWOBA, a 105 WRC plus. Really interesting bat off the top of the lineup. 11.3% barrel rate, 45.7% hard hit. This is just, as I've been saying all year, this kid coming into his own, filling out his shoes at the major league level. Still only 21. Against in 77 same-handed plate appearances this year, holding his own, 264, 312, 403. Just a 139 ISO, but a 103 WRC plus. Perfectly fine. Strikes out more, walks less, 31.2% strikeouts against fellow lefties versus 21.5 against righties, 3.9% walk against 6.2% against righties. Still some growing to do, obviously, but the kid's got an elite talent level as far as a bat. Jordan Westberg from the right side, 4,029 has 7 home runs, just a 228, 286, 434 slash line, but plenty of power there. 13.3% barrels, 45.9% hard hits in a limited sample of batted ball events, similar to previous seasons as far as that premium contact goes. Cheap way to fill out second base if you're going to Orioles bats. I like the upside for him. Gunnar at 43-32 has 9 home runs, a moderate 275, 347, 436 slash line. That's good in a vacuum. It's just not necessarily where we expected him to land. Lost a little bit of barrel over the last season, year over year, 11.2, 11.4 the last 2 years, down at 7.1 this year. Still carrying a 52.4% hard hit with that, though. Striking out a little bit more, walking a little bit less, but the price has come down further than the performance has come down. Key bat in this lineup, 121 WRC plus, a 330 xWOBA. Ramon Laureano, 187 plate appearances. He's got 10 home runs. It's pretty good pace, pretty good output. 273, 348, 515, 242 ISO. This is kind of the idealized version of Ramon Laureano that we saw glimpses of over time, saw for minor stretches. But this is one of the better stretches of 180 plus plate appearances of his entire career. I think you can go there if he's in the heart of the lineup for these prices at 39-29 against Patrick Corbin. Definitely appealing. Does strike out a little bit, but also draws some walks this year. Last year it was 31.3% walks, 4.7 strikeouts, and 4.7% walks. Hit 10 home runs, the same home run total in almost double the plate appearances. Gary Sanchez, 3,000, 2,700 across sites. If you've never been into this show before, don't be surprised when I tell you that Gary Sanchez is the home run pick of the day against Patrick Corbin. 4 on the board in 82 plate appearances. You guys know if you've been here before, you knew it was going to be Gary Sanchez when I said it was coming from this team earlier in the day. 8.88 in the home run model, 11.3% barrel, 62.3% hard hits in his limited sample of batted ball events this year. Has never in his entire life stopped hitting baseballs very, very hard. Has extremely obvious flaws as far as strikeouts go, as far as reliability goes. But people tend to, maybe skip over Gary from time to time. I think he is due to be pretty popular on today's slate, though, unfortunately. He's extremely cheap, should be hitting in the heart of this lineup as a very affordable catcher option against an extremely gettable lefty. This is where Gary can excel. It's also where Gary can disappoint and pop a 0 into your lineup. I would use him maybe if the field gets carried away in whatever ownership you look at. Maybe you temper expectations, pull him down slightly while still using him. If he goes a little under-owned, I'm really excited about the spot. My hope is on FanDuel, where you don't need the catcher. Maybe I get him a little bit lighter on than he ought to be. Ramon Urias at 31-28. At worst, a upside mix and match play. 6 home runs, 261, 314, 397 on the year. We've seen him hit plenty of home runs over time to know that he's an adequate option for that for a cheap price and lower ownership than everybody, especially, again, against a weak lefty. I'll take some upside there. If you get Colton Cowser lefty, he's 42, 32, very real power upside. This year has only made 24 plate appearances against same-handed pitching, 75 against righties, just 150, 292, 150 in those chances with no extra base hits and a 45 WRC plus. If we include previous performance, over 179 plate appearances against same-handed pitching, just 211, 285, 342, a 130 ISO, and 81 WRC plus, 33.5% strikeouts, and 5 of his 30 career home runs against same-handed pitching. So pretty tough spot for Colton Cowser if he's in the lineup at all. But if you're going on the theory that we're going to chase Corbin pretty quickly with some of these Orioles bats, then I probably want some under-owned Cowser if he happens to be in the lineup. Kobe Mayo at 28, 23. I don't love first base, but there's no conflict. So it's perfectly fine to take a cheap Kobe Mayo and maybe buy some premium contact upside. 10% barrels, 44% hard hits in a limited sample so far this year. Just 1 home run to show for it over 74 opportunities. Pretty light output and a 70 WRC plus, but he's got more to give than that. And then Ced Mullins is a mix and match quality outfielder against essentially anybody. 12 home runs, 8 steals, pretty weak numbers across the board otherwise outside of the 200 ISO, right at league average 100 WRC plus after his hot start. The confirmed version of the Rangers lineup. So again, we talked about some of these guys going through here just in general terms, but a cheap underperforming Marcus Semien at 36-28 against the gettable enough Trevor Rogers is in the mix for shares. If you're going to Rangers, you're going to include a cheap Semien hitting third at those prices at second base. 7 home runs, 6 steals, just an 83 WRC plus. 324 xWOBA is at least around the average, still suggestive of ongoing return to form kind of upside, maybe never getting back to the levels he once was, but he's nowhere near price like that. Seager, given the batted ball events that I talked about, 10 home runs, but light output as far as the slash line goes, but still a 117 WRC plus, a 393 xWOBA, and all this contact. Absolutely fire away with cheap Corey Seager. Haggerty getting on base ahead of Seager, ahead of Semien, ahead of Adolis Garcia. So if I'm a believer in buying shares of those power bats for cheap, I certainly want the table setter to go with him. He's got a 113 WRC plus over 122 chances. He's been fine in that role. I don't love the $4,200 price tag and the fact that he's their most expensive hitter on DraftKings. That's just stupid. 27 on FanDuel, multi-position eligible. That's kind of where he belongs. Adolis for only 35 on DraftKings. Give me him over Sam Haggerty if that's a decision for you every single time. 12.3% barrels, nearly a 50% hard hit out of Adolis. 9 home runs, 7 steals. We're nowhere near the output that we should be getting for the contact that we have gotten in years past from this player. Just got to be patient. Got to wait for some of that contact to come through. We've seen spurts, a couple decent games after he took those days off, then kind of just back into the blender. But he's very, very playable for these prices. Jonah Heim at 33-25, 8 home runs on the year, pretty mediocre otherwise. 257 on base is problematic, so is the 280 xWOBA. The 71 WRC plus stands on its own. 2,100, 2,000 for Justin Foscue. 3 pretty empty plate appearances so far this year. In 238 minor league chances as a 26-year-old, mostly a AAA this year. 10 home runs, 259, 350, 468 with a 210 ISO. Since he's dead min, if you don't want Semien and you want to save some money at that spot, but you're determined to use the second baseman from the Rangers, then fine. Given the minor league numbers for the min price against Trevor Rogers, sure, he's in the mix. As a one-off option at second base, if you're just looking across the broader slate, somebody to at least keep in mind if I need to cheapen something up to be able to move up the board for a better pitcher option, let's say, in a stack that I already like, and I don't mind moving second base out, that's not a terrible option. Josh Young for 32-28, putting up pretty solid bat on ball. 8.4% barrels, 42.4% hard hits, 8 home runs on the season and 292 plate appearances. A little underwhelming. So is the ISO, so is the WRC plus. But we saw him pretty significantly better than this a couple years ago on not entirely dissimilar contact. Higgy, we really haven't gotten our output. We had the big year last year with 17 homers. Always has been a source of barrels and good bat on ball outside of this year. Hasn't really come around in that department this year. For a couple lineups, sure. just chasing those batted ball events of years past. But really as a go-to kind of cheap option, we want to see it first, I think. And then Hellman, we talked about already. Orioles bats, cheap Trevor Rogers, Rangers bats. All that is relatively close, but I greatly prefer the Orioles to the Rangers bats. And then if you want to throw darts at Patty Corbin, he's not off the board. This Orioles team has been not great this year. Doug says, in your opinion, would it make a significant difference to make slight downgrades to pivot from Hellman to Morel or Mead? I would much rather have Morel or Mead. Much rather. Just significantly more talented players. Higher spots in the lineup versus a 9-hitter. Yeah, that one, I think easy answer there, Doug. Going back to Don. Hey, Carlos. What's going on? Carlos Soto says hi. Sam says, damn, how funny is it to listen to the same thing every day? Try talking about the same thing every day. 2 hours plus, Sam. That's baseball, man. These numbers are just a gradual progression till we normalize. Try and find new ways to put it. We're always talking about new opportunities, pitching-wise, matchup-wise, ballparks, pricing. That's what we need to weave in and out of. But yeah, a lot of the numbers just going along with the progression of time. Sam says, damn, what is good in understanding what is contained in a picture? Picture's worth 1,000 words. Is that what you're trying to say, Sam? Yeah, look, it's all right there for you to read. My job here is to explain our way through it, try and find some of the values as we go along. So Don was asking for GPP, would you pair Boston versus Reds pitcher? What do you mean pair? Would a lot you need for that 4-point boost for win? I'm not sure exactly what you're asking, Don. Would I play Boston's pitcher versus would I play Boston's lineup versus the Reds pitcher? Yes, but that's a yes, but kind of a situation. That's yes, but there are other significantly better spots. I think you can get definitely creative with some of those solid contact lefty bats that we talked about against the high-end rookie, though. Giants at the D-backs, Ryan Nelson, 67.83, differently priced across sites. Checking in with a 3.71 ERA, a sub-4 xFIP, a 105 whip. Not a monster strikeout guy, but capable around the league average at 21.1%, 8.4% swinging, 24.4% CSW. That's where you get to not a monster strikeout guy. Gives up a little bit of premium contact on a medium trajectory, 12.8 degree average launch, 9.4% barrels, over the threshold for hard hits and exit velo. So a little bit lucky probably to be at a 2.44% home run rate. You can see it's not just me. Stuff Plus really likes Ryan Nelson's arsenal. He's got a little something, and he's really cheap. He's been effective in several starts this season. He was effective for cheap prices and essentially no ownership throughout last year, or throughout the second half of last year. He's rarely popular. It's an interesting enough spot against the Giants team that has some strikeout, 22.9% on the average, with some mid-20s and into the 30s type guys, depending on the configuration of this Giants lineup, which we do not yet have. Obviously, we're getting some upside for offense in the desert. It's coming in mostly on the Giants side at a mid-4 implied total. You see some power around Rafi Devers. You got obvious power with Elliot Ramos at the top of the lineup. Some mix and match quality and mid-grade power options down through the lineup. Some decent run creators. But Nelson's good enough to carve a path through this lineup, especially if he can get around Rafi. On the other side, Logan Webb at 97 is a tremendous option, even against the Diamondbacks on DraftKings. 10-4 on the FanDuel slate, easy enough to play. Right in the mix with the top options with Zach Wheeler, with Garrett Crochet. 2.52 ERA, a 2.41 xFIP, 27.7% strikeouts against a microscopic 5.3% walk. 11.3% swinging, 31.3% CSW, just a 6 degree average launch, a 1.39% home run rate because he keeps everything down. He induces weak and medium contact. Logan Webb is tremendous. He is too cheap. even again against the Diamondbacks, a team that I like a lot, a team we don't typically target with pitching all that much. With Logan Webb, it's a different story. With ace caliber pitchers, it's a different story. You've got some challenges with low strikeout, high walk at Aldo Perdomo and Ketel Marte. But you can see even with Marte, 4.42 in the home run model today. Josh Naylor, 4.13. Eugenio Suarez, 4.71. Limited opportunity to hit home runs. If the D-backs get there, it's probably 3-4 runs kind of a day, maybe up to 5. That's what the 407 implied total will tell you, but there's not much ceiling on them today. You're looking at them for sequencing. If they get there, it's not a big power spot, at least not against the portion of the game that Logan Webb is pitching. You've got tremendous opportunities for sequencing just via the numbers with these guys, though. There's a lot of high quality on base options up at the top of the lineup. So the Diamondbacks maybe not completely dead in the water, but it's a 90% Logan Webb, 10% Diamondbacks kind of a situation. Not as far as your distribution, but like as far as like the opportunity upside. If you roll it 100 times, in other words. Starting with the Giants, 46-33 for Ramos, 10.6% barrels, a lot of hard hits, 13 home runs, a very solid slash line, gets on base at a tremendous clip, good table setter, good individual power bat in the outfield, not offensively priced, carrying a 130 WRC plus. Rafi at just 52, 38, 10.94 in the home run model today against Ryan Nelson, who gives up plenty of premium contact. 17 home runs, probably not enough for Rafi, given the monster that he is at the plate with all those batted ball events. 223 ISO, a 143 WRC plus, the 396 XWOBA, but kind of backs up what I'm saying about the ongoing power output. Tremendous option on any given slate. 36-29 for Wilmer. The 11 home runs for him is more of an oddity, but he typically can find a little bit of situational power. Doesn't put strong bat on ball on the average, but can find it when he needs it. 11 homers, but just a 145 ISO, just a 289 XWOBA, but a 102 WRC plus. Always playable, always affordable. He's fine, but not a priority. Mike Yastrzemski at 43, 3,000, 7 home runs, pretty mediocre front end of the slash line, but a nice appealing 340 on base, a 106 WRC plus, just an average 319 XWOBA. Makes good contact, but has been better for premium contact over the years. That's kind of what I'm looking for from the left side if I'm taking shots at Ryan Nelson here. Yaz would be a higher priority bat, I think, for me than Wilmer would, if that makes sense. I think I would take the shot with him if I'm three-manning it. Give me Ramos, Devers, Yaz. Or Ramos, Devers, Willy Adames for a cheaper price at $3,800. Willie's got an 11.4% barrel of 43.8% hard hit. He's hit 9 home runs. Everything else has been atrocious. It's difficult to justify, but at least the contact is very close to where it was last year. Hard hits are up. Barrels are only slightly down. We're just fishing for reasons to play a cheap Willy Adames against a gettable pitcher here. But given what we know about what he's capable of, and we know those things, he's easy enough to mix in if you're going to the Giants. Fairly high priority bat on this team still. Across the slate at large, less so. Jung-Hoo Lee, 44-31, 6 home runs, moderate output in the slash line, but a 333 XWOBA, 101 WRC plus, keeping himself above water, low strikeout, pretty decent walk rate at 8.5%. Casey Schmidt, some mix and match quality, has put good bat on ball so far. 5.42 in the home run models, not nothing. Multi-position eligible. You probably prefer him on FanDuel across multiple positions for 27. Has been competent over 112 chances, though. 129 WRC plus, a nice 380 XWOB under the covers, too. Patty Bailey, Christian Koss, much more mix and match quality options. 87 and a 57 WRC plus for those two guys. If you're going D-backs, Adaldo Perdomo up top, 47-33. Still carrying a 358 on base, a 117 WRC plus. There's lots of appeal there. 9 homers, 13 steals. Not a tremendous contact option, but as a table setter up at the top of the lineup ahead of Ketel Marte, Pavin Smith, Josh Naylor. It's just a really challenging game for them overall against Logan Webb. It's the real negative here for the Diamondbacks. But Perdomo's a part of my plans if I'm going that direction. Marte is obviously a part of those plans. 305, 405, 600 with a 174 WRC plus, monster premium contact, 17 homers. Nothing not to like about Ketel Marte outside of maybe the price tag. It's perfectly fair, but we don't have to like it. Pavin Smith, monster barrels, 11.9% barrels, 46.3% hard hits. 8 home runs, slashing 261, 371, 450, creating runs 29% better than average, delivering consistently when he's in the lineup. Yeah, he strikes out a lot, but look at the walk rate. Tremendous walk ability to draw walks. He's only 3,800 on DraftKings. That is a mistake price. 29 on FanDuel is downright cheap. If he's hitting third in the lineup, even against Logan Webb, you can get there. If you're going Diamondbacks, high priority bat. One of their better options as far as sequencing goes. And again, that's what we're chasing against Logan Webb if we go Diamondbacks today. Naylor, 49-35, can be a part of that same conversation, finding a lot of success on batted balls, getting on base at a 359 clip, drawing a decent walk rate, and doesn't really strike out. So a lot of high-quality batted ball events, stealing some bases, 10 homers, 10 steals, 130 WRC plus, high-priority bat, again, if you're going Diamondbacks. 51-36 for Eugenio. He's got to be in your lineup. If you're choosing to target Logan Webb, you got to include their best power bat, even with the limited ability to hit home runs. I want the guy who's still got the best chance of doing it. 25 on the season, a 307 ISO. Suarez is tremendous for the price, 51-36. Probably not expensive enough, but I get it against Webb. Lourdes Gurriel, 4,000, 2,800, 10 home runs on the season. Decent enough slash line. Higher quality player overall than he's put up. 93 WRC plus is limited. 322 XWOB was just floating around the average. But should be able to push these numbers up a little bit. Should be able to at least give us more runs scored if we're just talking about dumb, non-predictive counting stats. Just giving a little bit more success via BABIP. That's all he needs to deliver that much. And there's more to give than that. Jake McCarthy, mix and match quality. Alec Thomas, Jose Herrera, mix and match. All three of them down bottom of the lineup. Limited output so far this year. Limited talents. 8% barrels, 41.4% hard hits from the left side for Alec Thomas for 31.25. Probably the most appealing guy down there. Logan Webb with a bullet. Giants bat. Logan Webb, Ryan Nelson for cheap. How about that? Then the Giants bats. Then the Diamondbacks bats. And we round things out after a long show for a short slate. Doug, I wouldn't really think, man. High degree of risk rostering Harper at a high rate coming back from injury. If he's in their lineup, he's in mine. You know, if I'm building one, if I'm building 5, he's in 3 or 4 of them. Maybe I skip him once, but yeah, I wouldn't look to get away from him. Let other people make that error. Especially with as cheap as he is. He's probably going to be popular no matter what. But if that's a thought out there in the world today, I want other people to be having that thought. I want other people to be following that plan. I will take the Harper shares for cheap. Well, thank you, Doug. Doug said, sorry for blowing up the comments, but I hold your MLB knowledge and opinion in the highest regard. I appreciate you, buddy. I don't know when you blew up the comments. Feel free to comment on the videos during the show, after the show, down in the comments section. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Those things do feed the algo. They do actually help. 1,000 subscribers is still the goal. I feel like I've been talking about that for decades now. Way worse channels out there giving you way worse information have thousands and thousands of subscribers. It drives me nuts, gang. Tell your friends. Check out rotoscouts.com. Under $1 a day, plus the promo code. Promo code sarcastic with a K, where the first C goes in the middle of it. 50% off of a week or a month through the end of this week, through the 4th. Check it out. Renews automatically, if not adjusted, at at under $1 a day going forward. Gives you access to everything that hits that website. Rounding things out with a good pitching matchup between Michael Wacha and George Kirby. A couple of affordable starters with some talent here. Wacha, 92 innings in 16 outings, 3.33 ERA, a higher 4.24 xFIP, but a manageable xFIP, 10.5% swinging strike rate, a pretty weak CSW against that swinging strike rate, but he's finding 19.2% strikeouts against 6.2% walks. He'll do. He's not tremendous, but at these prices especially, Michael, he'll do. 389 implied total for the Mariners against. Enough strikeouts to maybe find 5 or 6. Enough depth to maybe find 6 clean innings and a quality start from my 86 on FanDuel. It's on the board. Basically, all these pitchers are on the board today. George Kirby's the much more talented of these two. He's had some bumps along the way in his return to action. 5.40 ERA, but a much cleaner 3.58 xFIP underneath. 23.4% strikeouts against 5.8% walks. Just 9.2% swinging, 24.8% CSW. But as long as he's putting some hitters away with that, I know that there's more than that to come. So I'm happy to take the upside, especially at 77 on the DraftKings slate. What you don't have is a high strikeout opponent here. You can see the low strikeout rates at the top of this lineup. We talk about it all the time. This is an ongoing attribute for these guys over the course of time. But there are some Ks down lineup here. Sal strikes out a little bit these days. Caglianone's been a somewhat of a strikeout target at 22.2 so far. Waters and Rave, obviously, you can get a little bit down there. So there's a little bit of upside for Curbs, and he's typically one of the better options for depth. So far in the return, we got a 7-inning start back on June 8th. We also got 6 the last time out, 3 hits allowed to the Twins. Struck out only 3, but only walked 1 earned run on the 3 hits over 6 innings. That's giving me a quality start for my money there. I'll run with it at 8,200, and you could do better than that. You could see 7 innings of pretty clean work here. Last season, pretty tremendous. 23% strikeouts, 3% walk rate. That is a fantastic strikeout to walk rate, even though the strikeout rate in the raw sense isn't one of the highest in the league. Pitched to a 3.53 ERA, a 3.58 xFIP, gave us 191 innings in his 33 starts and 11.4% swinging, was very good at limiting premium contact and power. Did similar things the year before, 22.7% strikeouts against 2.5% walks, 3.35 ERA, 3.63 xFIP, similar swinging strikes, keeps guys off base, limits opportunities for success. So even if you find a couple hits, there's typically not guys on base. Even if you happen to knock one out of the yard, there's typically not many guys on base. So he limits damage against even on big batted ball events. The Royals could keep strikeouts down, could find some sequencing, though. They are that kind of a team. 319 implied total checks them down as far as their output, as far as some of the projections, but the top end still looks okay. I think is a lower owned team when you can buy quality at low ownership against a pitcher who, again, is just kind of finding form, is a lower strikeout pitcher among the highly talented pitchers on the slate. He's the lower strikeout guy. So if we're looking to justify shares, you can do it with the Royals, at least among the Bobby Witt, Michael Garcia, Vinny Pasquantino, Sal, Caglianone stretch. All those guys are affordable. Even Bobby Witt, 55.39. You can sell me that. 11 home runs, 21 steals, a 123 WRC plus, 285, 338, 491, 206 ISO. Dude's a monster and should improve from here. India, up to 4 home runs now. I guess he hit a couple recently. 320 on base. Stable. Disappointing year, I think, overall for him. But at least he's getting on base a little bit. Needs to start creating more runs. Needs to capitalize on those situations. Some stolen bases would be nice for DFS. 3,300, 2,900, as long as he's leading off ahead of these guys, you can put him in lineups, but he's been a little bit more limited this year overall. Michael Garcia, tremendous year, 314, 371, 485, creating runs 38% better than average to lead this team. 8 home runs, 18 steals, still only 43 on DraftKings, 32 on FanDuel across multiple positions. Love it. Vinny, you guys know I love Vinny. 270, 330, 417, 12 home runs, a 333 xWOBA, 106 WRC plus. Still only 39. 3,000 at first base. Take advantage. That's a very cheap price. If you're going to the Royals against Kirby, take advantage of Vinny Pasquantino being so cheap. You could still put Sal at catcher alongside him. No problems there as far as positioning. FanDuel, it matters less, but you do have multiple guys across first base depending on what you're doing in your outfield with your other stack, given Caglianone's FanDuel first base eligibility. So you got a little bit of consideration there. Obviously, there's plenty of flexibility and you can get to all 3, but you do have a little minor collision. Sal, despite limited output, 234, 277, 386 is not good. Neither is a 79 WRC plus, but his barrel rate is very good at 13.3, 44.4% hard hits. Just 9 home runs to show for it, just a 153 ISO, but a 344 xWOBA tells us that we should expect him still to climb, and he's gotten really cheap. Caglianone's only 3,000, 2,500, one of the better prospects in all of baseball. 9.2% barrels and 43.1% hard hits across 90 plate appearances. Just a 106 ISO and 2 home runs to show for it. Maybe he's here a little early, but he's not really striking out. It's not like he's flailing up there. 4.4% walk, so he's putting just bat on ball pretty regularly, and the quality of those batted ball events is very good. So it's more results. It's more about where the balls have fallen than how they've come off of his bat. I'm a buyer at these prices, 3,000, 2,500. If I'm going to Royals, it's a big part of my plans. If I'm attacking George Kirby, wouldn't really be attacking George Kirby all that much. 28-24 for Drew Waters. Meh. 73 WRC plus across 212 opportunities, a 70 WRC plus out of Kyle Isbell. These guys are just cheap fillers at the bottom of the lineup. They're not even mix and match guys. They're just cheap fillers. There's not a lot to like down here. There's really limited power, no on base skills, sub 300 on base for everybody. It's pretty bad down the last three spots. It does limit the upside of the lineup, the ability to turn the lineup over, especially against a high quality pitcher like Kirby. On the Mariners side, JP Crawford, going up against Waka, a gettable enough pitcher. As good as he is, or as medium talent as he is, let's say, he's gettable. 389 implied total. You're not dealing with a great number in Vegas, but you start the lineup with a very good on-base option, a very good table setter in Crawford, 386 on base, a 128 WRC plus. A little bit of pop in the bat, 6 home runs. He's stolen a few bags this year, which is nice to see given the extreme on-base ability. Julio Rodriguez at 53-33, 11 homers, 13 steals. 339 xWOBA shows us there's more to come. So do the last couple seasons of star caliber output. He just goes through these slow stretches at the beginning of years. So far this season, though, he has improved the strikeout rate by 5 points. That's noteworthy for a kid who puts bat on ball like he does typically. We should see a return to form in barrels and hard hits as the second half of the season unfolds. I'm really interested if he's going to continue that strikeout rate. Cal Raleigh kind of speaks for himself with 32 home runs in his pocket, a 367 ISO, a 187 WRC plus. He's been the best player of the first half. Jorge Polanco, 34-27, has 11 homers, a mixed bag of results. Pretty mediocre slash line at 248, 302, 434, but a 112 WRC plus. Decent premium contact numbers for a cheap price at a easy to fill position at second base. Randy Arozarena, another guy, very good contact numbers, 9.8% barrels, 51.2% hard hits against a pitcher with a sub 20% strikeout rate. There's upside there. 27% strikeouts, but 11.5% walks. 8 home runs, 15 steals, a 357 on base. He's been more of a table setter, but he's still got a lot of upside for just batted ball events, doubles, hard hits. I'm a buyer on Randy Arozarena as well. Luke Raley, I'm really interested in if I'm choosing to target Michael Wacha. Lefty bat for only 3,200, 12.5% barrels, 48.6% hard hits in just 118 plate appearances. Bad slash line as far as the front end at 227, but getting on at a 350 clip in that small sample is kind of interesting, given the fact that Luke Raley can also run. It's only 2 stolen bases so far this year, but in 455 chances, he hit 22 homers, stole 11 bases last year. In 406 the year before, 19 homers, 14 steals. He's not tremendous. He doesn't draw excellent walk rates at 5.9, 6.9 the last 2 seasons, but so far in a small sample this year, 9.3 makes him a little bit more interesting if he can keep that up. And he puts good bat on ball for a cheap price. And people tend to skip him. 7.03 in the home run model against Michael Wacha. Seems easy. Dominic Canzone at 38-28, putting good bat on ball as well. In small samples, has done so over time. Low strikeout so far this year. He's cut that strikeout rate in half. That kind of reflects 2 years ago, though. Not drawing many walks, so you get a lot of consistent batted ball events. It's only 61 plate appearances, but he's hit 5 homers, 293 ISO in that tiny sample. It's essentially meaningless, but at least it's nice to see a little justification at cheap price in the outfield. Williamson, Cole Young, fairly skippable down lineup. Williamson, at least a 254 average, but only a 288 on base. This is the more important of those two numbers. So 74 WRC plus, nothing to write home about in the xWOBA column. Those guys entirely skippable at the bottom of the Mariners lineup. This one goes Kirby, Wacha, Mariners, Royals. And that gang is our slate. How about that? I know it didn't go fast. We did a lot of talking. Had some good questions to go through. Carlos is saying low owned for single entry. Not sure who you're referring to there, Carlos, but low owned always sounds good. Single end. Oh, low owned. Your low owned stack. I had my cursor over the stack part. I only low owned stack for single entry. Let's see. That's DK. Yeah, Carlos. I think you're on DK. What's the easiest way to do this? I'm just perusing some of the ownership here. Or actually, I'm just glancing at it. Technically, peruse means to go through with a fine-tooth comb. It's one of those words that people tend to use wrong. That's just difficult to gauge the way I'm doing this. All right, let's see. The Yankees are really highly owned. I don't love the Blue Jays as the answer, and their Blue Jays aren't popular, but they're also not my answer. The Red Sox are like kind of mid-board owned, and Burns is obviously tremendous, but they're not an uninteresting answer because they get low owned pretty quickly around some of the more interesting bats like Marcelo Mayer, Willie Abreu. But that's probably still also not my answer. They're at least a little interesting there, though. The Rays, there's one really highly owned player, and then everybody else is like just barely into the double digits. That's kind of an interesting spot. I could kind of get into that. And then on the other side of that one, some of those interesting Athletics power bats at single digit ownership for everybody on the team in that ballpark. We talked about Drew Rasmussen's quality and what he's shown so far this year. But you can't tell me those lefties don't have a little bit of appeal at low ownership in that park. So maybe that's so far Athletics might be the strongest answer. Orioles are too popular. I don't think it's my answer for you, but the Rangers are also not completely crazy given how cheap they are. But some of those guys actually are drawing a little bit of popularity on the other side of the Orioles too, though, because they're just so cheap. I think it's interesting. San Francisco is drawing a lot of popularity against Ryan Nelson, given that mid-4 implied total in the desert. I think that's one where the field may be getting carried away. So like the opposite of the answer you're looking for, I think I would say San Francisco, the over-owned stack of the day. Diamondbacks wouldn't really be my target there. I think if I'm saying what's the interesting low-owned upside spot just for like a dart that way, I think it might be the Athletics in Tampa Bay. But again, it's not a clear path to success. It is kind of a tough slate that way, Carlos. Yeah, it really is. Because there's a lot of spread across like all the quality spots. And then you're otherwise taking chances with like, Arizona's going to be low owned. They're an excellent team with some great bats in that lineup, but they're facing one of the best run limiters in baseball. So it is a challenging spot that way. And it's a much more dynamic, much more flexible pitching slate. On FanDuel, I don't really want much Waldron. I don't really need any Andrew Heaney down the bottom of the lineup or down the bottom of the board. I don't really need that much Corbin Fede maybe down the bottom, but you take shots with basically everybody else. On DraftKings, I think every single pitcher is in play. And like I said, all the way back to the beginning of the show, if I've got time and I'm building a ton of lineups with like an optimizer, I think it would pay to take the top couple guys off the board and just let it build with a cross-section of these guys. So you get some exposure to the double pay down spot on DraftKings. Your most likely path to success is to use one of the expensive guys, the high strikeout, the high projection guys, high probability of success guys, with one of the cheap guys that projects out well, obviously. But there is a clear path through double pay down today. I think it would be an interesting way to go. But yeah, that A's and Rays game is probably an interesting low-owned spot, just given the dynamics of that park. You got some rain to worry about there. You got some rain in the Philly game. You got some rain in the Pittsburgh game to worry about. So keep an eye on those things. That's your pitching slate one last time. I think we've talked through it quite a bit. So hopefully everybody knows where we stand. But as I was just saying again, it is a very playable, flexible pitching slate with a lot of value on it. Interesting options abound. So get to them. Let's get to some lineup building. I'll get the site updated in the next couple of minutes. Ooh, Ricky Lee. Tough question. Mizurowski versus Burns for the next 10 years for my SP1 for my franchise. I need to see more before I can really answer. I need to see more. Right now, I slightly lean Mizurowski, but it's very, very close. I don't think you can go wrong either way. Slight lean. Boo. My real answer is that I need to see more of both guys. But Mizurowski's elite, and so is Chase Burns. So nice situations for both of those teams, and we'll get to see those guys face each other quite a few times, I would imagine, over time. Should be fun. A lot of just baseball's ridiculous that way. Just year after year, it's just these waves of talent fills out the middle teams. It's dynamic. Anyway, let me get out of here. Let me get the site updated. Thank you guys. You absolutely rock. Hit the like button on your way out the door if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel. Scrolling across the bottom of the screen, promo code sarcastic with a K in the middle instead of that C. 50% off of a week or a month for new or old subscribers over at rotoscouts through the end of this week through 7/4. Subscription renews at the full price afterward if it's not otherwise adjusted. Blah, 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 blah. Thank you guys so much. Good luck out there tonight. Somebody go win something. Share the results in Discord or on Twitter or whatever when you do. And we'll be back for more tomorrow, gang. See you.